All right, hello YouTube. Welcome to episode roundtable 167 of Dark Tower Palaver. Again, YouTube is tripping me up by showing like a countdown still, but there we go. Now it's going good. Welcome to episode 166 roundtable for Dark Tower Palaver. It is now August.
That's just nuts.
It is pretty crazy. But
Wait a minute. We're in the 8th month already?
yeah, it's wild.
Spooky season.
So let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started and get the podcast side started, because right now it's like super secret YouTube side. Let's go ahead and get the podcast going.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, and the extended Stephen King universe, of course. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And yeah, we're here for episode 166. We are now into the good month of August. I don't know, I guess this is still the dog days of summer, though.
This is the dog days of summer.
Yeah, like late July into August is, yeah, so that's unfortunate. I'm ready for the nice cool down and the full embrace of everyone to spooky season, because that is upon us.
Yeah.
But
Spooky season for us is 24/7, 365. But
indeed. But
this is the cultural appropriate.
Yeah,
spooky
that's when we're gonna get, like, you know, our horror movies in theaters and stuff.
And also one of the most important things of the year, Spirit Halloween opening up. Gotta go see what kind of Halloween decorations and shenanigans I can find this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably opening here pretty soon. They've been opening that earlier and earlier. Back in the day, when in my birthday in mid-September, it was never open. But nowadays, it feels like it's open way earlier. So.
Yeah, we're gonna be checking here soon. I should have looked today. I was over by where the biggest one in our area opens up, and I forgot to go look because I did a Costco run earlier. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and hit the intro stuff real quick. If you want to, first of all, I want to warn you about spoilers. This is a roundtable, so the spoilers will abound. If you've not finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, and there may be spoilers for other Stephen King works as well, but the Dark Tower series is what we're most concerned about because there's 7 books primary. I mean, you have some secondary stuff too, but like the primary stuff. That stuff we've gone through these intros we've spoiled stuff before the intros even started, let alone got through it. So we want to make sure you guys are amply warned. If you've not finished the series yet, you may want to stick to our book club episodes. With those, we have very, very, very minimal, if at all, spoilers. And if those are all isolated to the very end of the episode, and you're given ample warning. So if you're meandering through book 6 right now, for instance, the book clubs are very, very safe for you because we are very, very far behind you. We are back in the tail end of book 4, pretty much. So last where I think we're about the 3/4 mark. So that's probably the safest place to stay until you've finished the series. Then if you want to find the show, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and any podcasting service of your choice. If you could subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, we'd appreciate that. That always helps the show. And then if you want to join us live for the live streams, we do them here every other week on YouTube at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. You can watch old live streams as well. And then there's some smaller videos that aren't full episodes that are available there as well. If you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, because apparently you are not a good YouTube person if you don't say that. That's just, so yeah, that's definitely helpful. Then if you want to find the show notes, you can find that at darktowerpalaver.com. That is the hub for all things Dark Tower Palaver. If you want to find links for any of the stuff we cover in this episode, you can find the full articles over there, as well as there's a couple trailers we're going to be talking about. So you can find, I'll have all that linked in the show notes for this episode, as well as it's everything Dark Tower Palaver. You can find links to it from the website there. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. With that, you get access to our Discord server where you can chat with us all the time, as well as we do monthly hangouts. We just did one yesterday. We covered the first half of The Stand, talking through that. So my annual reread, and Peter is happens to be reading it now as well. Your once every couple years read of it.
Yeah,
so.
every about 18 to 24 months is when I get the hankering for it.
Yeah.
So usually what happens is like Tad will talk about it. It's like, oh, I got the itch. I'm back in The Stand, or I'm about to, and I'm just like, do I want to? No, not this year. And then the next year, yeah, I think I do too. But I usually wait until it's weird. This is the first time I've ever read it in the summertime, which is when majority of the story takes place. So
Yeah, I mean, of course, I know you read chapter 23 like at least once a month.
No, I do not.
You know, when you're at the altar of Flag.
No, I do not.
It's great. A
No.
little crow there, a little button with a little smiley
We are
face.
going to talk about crows later.
Crows are awesome. They're lovable creatures. And then if you want to contact the show, you can let us know, or you can do that in a number of ways. Peter can let you know how to do that.
The best way is to email us. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com. You can find us on our Instagram and Threads. It's Dark Tower Palaver, all one word, no spaces. And then find us on Blue Sky. It's at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then we're also on the Twitter. It's at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. We're also still on Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then go pick up some merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver. Get yourself a hashtag Tad is terrible shirt, sticker, pillow, all of that, goodness. And Tad's going to say something about a primary slander and logo and everything like that. This is the real one. Don't let him lie to you. Don't believe him.
Oh, it's not. Look what's on the screen,
He's wrong.
sir.
That's the real one.
No.
Real one.
Only in your mind,
No.
my young apprentice.
you got to stop saying young. that doesn't apply anymore.
Oh, man. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on over. I don't think we have anything to talk about otherwise, like calendar-wise or anything like that that I know of. I do think I have the rest of the shows the rest of the year scheduled out on YouTube, so that's awesome. I guess we do have 3 episodes this month, right?
Yeah.
So we have 2 book clubs this month, which is pretty awesome. We're chugging along, like I said, toward the tail end of book 4, so can't wait to finish that out. We did get to the corner licking, though, in the last episode, so that was a lot of fun. And we also visited Rhea with the Coffin Hunters, went to her hut to retrieve the ball, so a lot of fun stuff there with Rhea. And the corner licking, of course, is the last thing that we were really waiting for Rhea, because that's something we hadn't seen yet. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on over to the news. So we got a couple. It's funny, we've got a few things here from kind of like, I guess, speculative type there's some Dark Tower stuff, but it's not necessarily like full on news, but it's some fun, like, opinion type stuff. So the first one here is, if you don't read these Stephen King books, then you'll never truly get him. And this is by Alicia Grosso from Screen Rant on July 8th, 2025. So Alicia starts by making a distinction between those who like King's books and the hardcore constant readers. And she says she believes there are certain books that you must read to get your hardcore constant reader card and to really get King as an author. She then says his bibliography is extensive and is as prolific as any modern author. And I will also say, I don't think that she's necessarily saying this in like a gatekeeping kind of way by any means.
Not a derogatory, yeah.
Yeah, no. But ultimately, we all know, right? There's different levels of King fans.
Yes.
And, with the extended world that we live in with shows and movies and stuff, there's people that have never touched a book in their life that are huge Stephen King fans just because they've, watched various adaptations and stuff. So so she goes on. She also says that he's been around so long and has had such an influence on pop culture that at this point he is a permanent load-bearing fixture in pop culture. And I like that phrasing. It's a good one, and it's true. I mean, he hasn't necessarily been around. I mean, maybe half of film history, right? Early 20s, the early films, and he didn't show up till the 70s. So, I mean, I don't know. With where we're at, maybe he's not even half, but close to half.
Yeah.
But even still, like in the impact that he's had on films in the last and TV pretty much since like call it 1970 has been pretty considerable. So, ruined clowns, for instance, for a lot of people. So, she says that like Shakespeare, virtually everyone is at least passingly familiar with his works to one extent or another. Again, kind of like I was saying, even if someone's never touched a book, like they're gonna know the name Stephen King, even if they couldn't pick out like whatever. What do you think someone would say if they weren't necessarily fully versed?
Oh, he's that person who writes all those horror stories.
Yeah. Think there's anything they'd point to directly?
I mean, I think we both agree that it's usually Pennywise. Maybe The Shining.
Yeah.
Because that got so much hype around it and everything.
Yeah.
Still does.
Yeah.
Like that still gets talked about today
Yeah.
as one of the greatest horror films. Oh, it's based off a Stephen King novel,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So she says that along with the vast nature of his bibliography, she says along with the vast nature of his bibliography, it's why it's possible for some people to read some of his books and not truly understand King on a fundamental level. She points out that there are entire college courses that have been built on studying his works. She then says that The Dark Tower is the most important work for someone to read to get King as a writer. And I think she kind of she goes on to cover things like that we've said on this show, that you can ask a group of 100 people if they've read King, and even if the ones who do will name some of the classics like Carrie or Misery or Cujo or It or The Stand, or maybe some of the more modern books like any of the Holly books or stuff like things in that realm. And so there's people that can have just like that brief encounter with King, but not really like have a full grasp of it, right? Like people might even just read some of the all-time classics and truly think that he is nothing but a horror writer. And obviously we know as you get to be deeper into the constant reader realm, it gets to a point where you realize like there's a vast chunk of his books that aren't horror at all. So, and we'll even talk about some of those a little bit later too. So that's kind of a good point. She says that because of his works are so intimidating that people tend to start engaging with standalone works. She then points out how it's extremely rare to find people who have read The Dark Tower, but no other King versus. I guess what she's saying is there's not a lot of people that have read The Dark Tower and no other King books.
Yeah.
Usually it's the opposite. They've read King books and they eventually get to The Dark Tower. Now, I will say, though, over the years, we've had some people email in the show that were that way, where the very first King exposure they ever had was The Dark Tower. Those are usually fans that are fans of, like high fantasy, that kind of stuff, like the larger epic stuff. And they, kind of engage King because they wanted to read The Dark Tower, not necessarily the other way around. But I think she is correct, though. That's far and away the exception to the rule.
It's also it's one of King's stories where he talks about how at conventions he'll be like, all right, put your hands up if you've read one of my books. And everyone puts their hands up. All right, put your hand down if you haven't read Carrie. A couple people put their hands down. All right, put your hands down if you've never read a Dark Tower book. And majority of hands go down.
Yeah.
So he's pointed it out that a lot of people who read his books have never even touched The Dark Tower.
Yeah, and that's why I can't wait for the Flanagan series.
Yeah.
Because, I hope that it will be a hit that I think we think that it could be, because I think that, it could be like Game of Thrones, right? There was a number of people that have read the Game of Thrones books back in the day, but, nowhere near how many have read them now today because of the show, right?
Yeah, I had never heard of them until Game of Thrones, I started watching, the third season when you got me into it?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, it's got some books. Oh, well, these must be fairly new. No, they fucking came out in, the 90s when the first book got published. So it's like, wait, this has been around my whole life? What, most of my life? What are we talking about here?
Way back in the late 1900s?
Yeah, in the late 1900s, that's when Game of Thrones came out, the book.
Yeah, the Song of Ice and Fire books.
Is the first one called Game of Thrones, or is the first one called Song? I don't remember.
I don't recall, but I do know that the books are titled, or the overall, the way that you talk about it, the books is A Song of Ice and Fire, is the series name, I believe. It's kind of
the first book is called A Game of Thrones, 1986.
Yeah.
So, but the series is A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah. But I always hate that, though, when the first title ends up becoming the name across the board, the Mr. Mercedes series. That's why I always like to call it
the Hunger Games.
That's why I always like to call it the Bill Hodges trilogy, because it's Mr. Mercedes is a singular killer that's in the first book.
And
so just to expand it out and say it's now the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, or the show that is then called Mr. Mercedes. It's I just again that's why I've always made it a
Yeah.
point to try to call it the Bill Hodges trilogy because it's like he is the through line. He's the one that's there throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like he's the central character. So, but
Yes.
that's what always happens though is like a show will happen or something and they'll name it whatever, and then like that just sticks like the Knives Out.
Yeah.
Like the Knives Out, the movie Knives Out. It's like now they're like making that like it's the title for everything, and it's just stupid because like literally that's a title that was meant for
That
a
first,
singular
that first mystery. Yeah.
yeah. Thank God we're not all talking about the Doctor No series.
Yeah.
That's another way that could have happened.
Yes.
So
it could have, except that Ian Fleming is not like that.
no, but sometimes it's not up to the.
That's true.
The like the people like the authors and stuff. Sometimes it's just the way pop culture or like a film studio or someone does it. So luckily, film studios weren't as dumb back then as they are now, where they feel like they've got to insert the title into everything. Like Welcome to Derry. That should just be called Welcome to Derry. This whole nonsense of a subtitle to say an It story or whatever the fuck they're doing, it's so stupid to me. Because it's like, is there anyone on this planet at this point that's really going to confuse Derry? Like, I feel like that's pretty ubiquitous with the It series at this point. So, it's like The Sopranos. I mean, that's a long time ago now, but like The Sopranos, the reason they put the gun in the R is because they're like, we don't want people to think this is like some show about like opera singers.
Opera singing.
So
It's It, Welcome to Derry.
yeah, that's stupid. So she laments how often she talks to people who are fans of his work but have never touched this series. She says first and foremost because this series is fantastic, as well as unique in its breadth of genres and themes, which goes back to the age-old thing that we've been talking about on this podcast almost since day one, is how the hell do you describe this series to someone in like 100 words?
Mm-hmm.
It's the hardest thing to do because it's like this is an unwieldy beast here. This is
Oh, it is.
like I don't know if I've ever come across another series in books, in video games, in movies, and television that is this hard to define. Because usually, as it gets, as something gets kind of done through time, like it delineates down to like a Game of Thrones. Oh, it's a struggle for the throne in this like really fleshed out land. Like that's a very basic thing you could say. It's like, oh, okay, I kind of get the sense of it. Mm-hmm. We just can't do that with Dark Tower because it's so
different,
goddamn. It's all over the place. Even like
Yeah.
what we've covered in the book club series, we're like maybe halfway through the series. But even think about how much we've covered genre wise. Like you could say we've done Western, we've done thriller, we've done horror, we've done
just a straight up drama.
Yeah, like just
You also have like the assassination elements and everything like that with like the flashbacks in Gilead and everything. So
post apocalyptic.
you have chapter to chapter sometimes in the series where it jumps from one genre to the other.
Yeah.
Like this chapter is pure horror. This chapter is pretty high fantasy.
Yeah.
This chapter is straight out of a Western.
What do you think is the quintessential like horror that comes to mind for you when you think of the Dark Tower series?
The tunnel with Susanna, Roland, and Oi running from the beast.
Okay. I always think of Dutch Hill. I feel like that's as like quintessential horror as you get. Like, and it's not. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of
they're both
it's like,
both monsters. So
yeah, it's like word association though. It's like what's the first thing that comes to mind? Like I think I've said that over the years too. And it's like what's the first thing that comes to mind overall when I say Dark Tower? Like, is there a scene that comes to mind? Is there a character that comes to mind?
Roland.
Like for me, it's like the quartet around a campfire. Not like it's not some crazy battle or some whatever. I always just think of the quartet around a campfire on one of those downbeat moments. And sometimes there's important things going on, like Eddie carving a key or whatever. But it's like to me, that's the quintessential Dark Tower. When I hear it, that's the first thing I think. But horror, my first thought is like, Dutch Hill, because it's like it's fucking terrifying, right? And
I think of when you say the Dark Tower, I think of Roland walking through the desert.
Okay, so
first thing,
earliest image, some of the earliest
first
images
thing that pops into my head: the man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. It's that in a picture form. He's got the water skins, no hat.
Yeah.
No hat. We got to remember, no hat.
In that part, yeah.
In that part, no hat.
Let's go forward 25 pages, and I'm sure there's a hat
There's a
showing
hat.
up there.
And
no, and I think
everything.
yours probably more popular and common. I think
Yeah.
that's probably more of an image that comes to more people. Like I'm sure mine's a little bit more or less common. But like I don't know why that's
we've also done several rereads. We've also done like in-depth study of it and talk about it. Where like what you talked about this when we were doing Wastelands, is like we got to one of those campfire scenes and you're like, this is what I think about.
Yeah.
You even brought it up then, and that was geez, that was what, 2 years ago when we were
Yeah,
at that part of the
probably.
book club.
And like,
so.
and that's the kind of thing that I just can't wait to see, like from on screen with Flanagan. Like, yes, it doesn't stand up next to like the showdown at the Traveler's Rest or the showdown with Blaine, or like
Yeah.
there are some of those moments that are going to be like, oh my fucking god, all time great moments. But for me, like, just give me a scene with like the quartet. Maybe there's a small lesson
Yeah.
being taught. You know, Jake sitting there petting Oi, like, you know,
It's the same thing as
Eddie
like,
and Suzanne are cuddling
Right.
as a couple. Like, there's some like
where they're doing the riddle book. They're
Yeah.
talking riddles, and Eddie's over there with his arm around Suzanne, and Jake's reading from the riddle book with Oi laying across his leg,
Yeah.
and Roland sitting over there squatting on his haunches.
Do you think?
like
What do
he
you
always
do? You
does.
picture anything in his mouth? Either cigarette or like a
Roland?
a thing of grass or something. Like,
Roland?
Yeah,
Smoking.
yeah,
He's got a smoke and everything like that. What I picture is like what you're talking about is like what we see in Game of Thrones. There are these epic battle scenes and
Battles.
epic
Especially
dragons, special
later.
effects and everything like that.
when they had more
Well,
budget.
Yeah, well, even like the Battle of Blackwater early on.
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
you get the intense scenes even when like Ned goes to confront Cersei
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. But then you get those little scenes too,
Yeah,
where Tyrion finds out that his dad betrayed him,
yeah,
and that he thought the love of his life betrayed him and stuff like that.
yeah,
The ones that come out of left field as well, like Joffrey's death and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it's just like things like that happen in the Dark Tower as well. But there's also like the little moments. You know, there's the
Yeah.
moments where like Arya's training
yeah,
and she has her, what do we say to the God of Death? Not today. You know,
Yeah.
that's the stuff
And-
that sticks with you is those little scenes.
yeah,
And I think the Dark Tower is chock full of them.
yeah,
And I think Flanagan is a smart enough filmmaker and a big enough fan that he's not going to let those little things go. We got a little bit of that in the movie
Yeah.
when we had the gunslinger Credo.
yeah,
I feel like if that had been left on the floor, the cutting room floor, they cut that scene out, I feel like the movie would have had like almost no redeeming qualities.
yeah. That would have.
But that scene, that was the best scene in the movie for me.
Yeah,
Because that really like honed in on what that book is and everything. The book series is for me.
yeah,
And so, imagine getting that across 5, 6, 7 seasons with Flanagan and everything. That's just gonna be amazing.
yeah. Cody in the chat says, I think Flanagan needs to do a gag where every other setting, there either is or isn't a hat when Roland's in the desert.
Yes.
Maybe not every other, but I do think a hat should, like, maybe like every few episodes or so, there's just randomly a hat versus not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he probably couldn't do that because there'd be too many people that would bitch that aren't readers.
Yeah.
They'd be like, what the hell's up with this continuity? Why is this hat just
I think it should just be I think it should be just a one-time shot. The whole series he has no hat, but then there's just one random shot where he has a fucking hat. And they're just like, where'd the fucking hat come from? Maybe even Eddie like points out, he's like, where'd you get that hat? He's like, I've had it in my bag. And
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
and he's like, what, you don't like it? Like takes it off and puts it back in the bag.
Yeah.
His magical little bag.
Yeah, so she goes on to point out that the Dark Tower is the linchpin to the entire King universe.
Yeah.
She says that more than half of King's career has been tied to the Dark Tower in one way or another, and that dozens of his novels and short stories tie into the Dark Tower. Even when he starts out a story and he doesn't mean to write them to be part of the Dark Tower, some stories just naturally gravitate to a way where they become part of it. So
I also think that there's an epidemic in King fandom where we're looking for connections in any way to the Dark Tower to make
Yeah.
it connect, especially as Dark Tower junkies.
But I think
Where it's-
King does it on purpose.
I
though.
think there's been a lot where it's like, hey, I think that this is connected this way, and King goes, yeah, sure, why not? Like kind of like the Feige with Spider-Man and Iron Man 2, the
Yeah.
little kid who puts his hand up wearing the Iron Man mask. Oh, that's Peter Parker. Feige goes, yeah, that sounds cool. Cool. All right, that's canon.
Yeah.
I think there's a few, not a lot, but I think there's a few where the Dark Tower fans have been like, hey, what about this connection? And King just goes, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
I think that we're all guilty of it, of trying to connect everything to the Dark Tower.
I mean, everything is connected. It's just a matter of if it's overt or like kind of low key in terms of the fact that it's just
Right.
one level of the tower or another, right? Like, and even to the point where it's like, as King plays loose with like geography and different like the
Yeah.
stand he gives the introduction. In the introduction he tells like, hey, for anyone that's in some of these real towns, like I'm making shit up here because I need it to serve
Sorry.
my story.
Yeah.
So and I think that like when it gets to, there's even times where you can go grab one random book and then another random book that both talk about the same place but describe them differently, and like
Yeah.
they would be counter like so like ultimately if it weren't for like the Dark Tower and like the multiverse aspect, like it would kind of be like a thing where you're like, that's kind of annoying that like
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could argue that maybe you shouldn't be trying to look at all of King's stuff as a multiverse. I mean, it is, but like if he wasn't, if he didn't have the Dark Tower, you wouldn't see it as a multiverse, and at that
Right.
point it doesn't matter if it matches. It would just be a matter of like, wait, why is near the UN there's this building here in this book, but in this other one it's just a field or something.
It's a different level of the tower.
But that kind of gives us that ability to kind of look at it in that way.
And then there's also like the ones that are like 2 degrees removed from the Dark Tower. Like Carrie has absolutely nothing that connects to the Dark Tower, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing. She has telekinesis, not
Yeah.
the shine. It's different.
But it's only 1
But-
degree removed in terms of like, okay, the shop or
Yeah,
the
exactly. That's exactly what I was going
or
to say. Is like,
Sombra
that's who's running the commission, right? Like that's who's
Yeah.
who's behind that, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to know that that exists in this world.
Yeah, and we talked about that with the Institute, where it's like, hey, the Institute, the shop, and then Sombra, whatever you want to call
North
it,
Central Positronics
that
yeah.
runs like the breakers. It's like, okay, so there's going to be 3 different entities in King's universe that are potentially looking to harvest, gifted people
Yeah.
for their own purposes. And it's like at one point we were trying to think like, is there a way that they could all be the same? But it really seems like they're different. It's like, so maybe there's an agreement between them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like
Or they just go by a different name. Like
it could be, yeah,
the Institute very well could be a
different line item.
It
of-
also could be the new version of the shop, because if the shop was destroyed in Firestarter,
yeah.
well, you got to rebrand, kind
Yeah.
of thing. So
Yeah.
there's a whole thing with Firestarter really kind of throws a wrench into things where she fucking roasts the entire upper echelon of the shop and its home base.
Yeah.
That's like taking out Langley for the CIA. All of a sudden you're like, well, maybe we should come up with something new, or we'll rebuild, or we can this is a chance for us to rebrand and everything
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah. So she says that the Dark Tower being the linchpin has become an extension of King himself, and him showing up in the story was both a meta commentary as well as a reflection of just how intertwined his life has become with this world. She closes out by saying that the Dark Tower is unquestionably his magnum opus, and how much of himself he has put into this series, either directly within the story, or either directly with stories that tie in directly, or just ones that are like 1 degree removed type
Right.
thing, right? And it's just impossible to truly grasp the world that he has created, or the universe he's created, or his entire philosophy without reading the Dark Tower series. And what's kind of funny is I think the ultimate like takeaway I had from this is like, I feel like we, especially probably everyone listening, because I think everyone that listens is kind of on the same level of Dark Tower fandom as we are. And I think we all kind of do this, but I don't think we ever think about it. The fact that everything that comes out, we read it through the lens of the Dark Tower.
Oh, yeah.
Every single thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we've done a number of these in the almost 10 years we've been doing this show now, where new books have come out, or we've revisited books that came out before our show started, and it's like that is the entire lens that we see everything through. So I think to her point, like it does completely color your entire view of all of
does.
King's works, even shit that pre-existed. I mean, theoretically, because in theory nothing pre-existed, because he wrote The Gunslinger in like college. So like a rough draft of this was written. The first book was written before anything. So there's
but
a through line
we didn't have drawing of the 3. We didn't have editing.
No.
All of that didn't exist until later. But
yeah.
to your point, like we talked about with Carrie, there is still a through line with Carrie where it makes sense that it's connected.
Yeah.
But when King wrote it, there was no plan for that.
No.
So that's I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Cody says the hat just sitting in the background randomly. Or what if you played the hat like a horror element, like it flickers in and out of the existence in the background randomly, but the hat never actually comes to anything. It's just like sitting on a fucking rock on the side of the road, and every time like Jake looks over it, it's just duh, and then it's gone.
It's like Walter White's pants in the like finale when he's running that barrel through the desert, and you see the pants that he lost in the first episode,
Yeah.
like something like that. No,
I like the idea of the hat being like a ghost face, like it's there. Jake looks away, looks back, and it's gone.
I just picture a hat peeking around a cactus.
Would the hat? Okay, so this is one of those like, how does a dog wear pants? Would the hat be horizontal or would it be peeking vertical around the cactus?
Oh, the part of the brim would be its face, so it'd be like peeking its brim around.
So it'd be like this.
Yeah.
I would picture it like this. That it would be, vertical. I think vertical. You say horizontal.
Oh man, but yeah, I think that it's just an interesting take that she certainly has. And again, I don't think it's a gatekeeping thing. I think it's just a matter of like, it's like she kind of referenced earlier like Shakespeare. It's like, hey, everyone has at least a brief knowledge of Shakespeare. Everyone's seen Romeo and Juliet, some version of it, whether they were in high school in a play or whether they watched the Leo DiCaprio movie, whether they watched some like version of it that a movie's been done that was a little bit less like whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone's or that you've seen Lion King and then you find out later that, oh my God, that's a Shakespeare adaptation, right? Like, so everyone has some exposure, but I think the people that truly like take college courses or they go through and they've read the entire works of it,
or they're just like a giant fan of Shakespeare.
Yeah, and the people that have truly like can cite chapter and verse from like any of the plays and like or whatever, like those people understand Shakespeare a lot more than at least me. I'm not going to put you in it because I don't know where your level is, but it's
I know this much.
Yeah, so it's like how we would understand it. It's like, it's not to say we don't understand Shakespeare, but we don't understand him deeply in a way that someone that's gone nuts.
Right now, a perfect example would be what you're talking about is how my wife is with Stephen King. She is about to finish her 4th novel. She's only 2.5 hours away from finishing Misery.
Yeah.
So she's never read A Dark Tower.
And now you got to watch Misery after that.
That's the reason why I picked it, is so that we could rewatch Misery. I can rewatch Misery, and she can watch it. She's never seen it, so
yeah.
Or she has. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe she could tell me. But her ideas and we will be talking about her views on it later in the show. Are different than mine because there's so much for me.
Yeah.
That connects to the Dark Tower in it.
Yeah.
And when you read her email and everything like that, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
She doesn't think about the Dark Tower at all because she's never read it. But for me and you, like you said, when Never Flinch came out, man, as I'm listening to that, and my first time through, I'm just sitting there thinking like, could this be that?
There
was
something with Holly that made us think Dark Tower, and I don't remember what it was now.
In the book, Holly.
When the synopsis came out, before the book came out, the Institute was the same way. We're like, oh my God, this is going to be Dark Tower related. It's the Breakers.
Yep.
And there was something with Holly, and I'd probably have to go back and find the synopsis and read it. But now we've actually read the novel, so maybe we couldn't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
But we're always seeing through that lens. And I guess the other thing I would say to Alicia's point is I feel like if someone read every single book in the King bibliography but didn't read the Dark Tower, like left those 8.5 books out, I do think that person can understand King a lot, but they will not have that full understanding because again, the Dark Tower is such a heavy hitter in the whole thing that it's like there would be a gap in your understanding of King by not reading it. Even like I always think of like book 7 when you're reading like the diary of Stephen King, and it's like even that, it's like you got to believe there's some truth that's next to that fiction. That's like there's some real elements of like King's.
I 100% believe that some of that stuff that he put
is
in
real.
that section is real.
Yeah.
We know that some of it is real because he does the Pet Cemetery story in the book.
Yeah.
He's like, I just finished this book. I'm going to put it in a drawer. There's never a chance that that's going to get published.
Yeah.
And then like a couple, entries later, it's like, I can't believe this, but it's getting published. He's told that story at conventions. He's told that story on podcasts and stuff where he's like, man, when I wrote Pet Sematary, I put it in a drawer and I went, that is way too dark. That's never getting published. And then it did. So we can say that for sure that is the case. I think it's fascinating to think about people not seeing a new book their first time through the lens of like the Dark Tower. It's just interesting to me because like every little thing when I'm reading a book,
you're on the lookout.
I'm
your antennae.
Oh yeah,
are at full
scanning.
Yes,
scanning, looking for Dark Tower references. Scanning.
Yeah, and sometimes you pause and go reread a line. We're like, wait a minute, and it's never mind. There's nothing.
I've rewound because of audiobooks. Obviously, I have rewound. That's hard for me to say. Rewound. I didn't know that was a word I struggled with. Today I learned. Sections of books where I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Did he just say what I think he said? No, okay, that's not related to the Dark Tower. Okay, that's not. I thought for a second he was referencing Derry, which is related to the Dark Tower. So I just wanted to make sure.
It's the meme of the guy with the conspiracy board, right?
The red yarn and everything.
Yeah.
The red web.
Yes, that's the way we all are.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to the next one here. Let's see in the chat. Cody also said, I always imagine the uncontinuity of the hat is a sign of how many cycles Roland has been through, kind of like the horn. His memories are pulling the hat in and out of existence. That's not a bad take for sure. Because I mean, ultimately, it seems like it's one of those things that King just.
What if the hat's the key to breaking the cycle? What if that's it? What if the hat is what he needs?
I mean, it depends on where you look at the story. Because I mean, the very first couple paragraphs, it says his hat he lost long ago.
Yeah,
it's like so that would have meant the hat was lost outside the cycle. But then again, of course, it does reappear throughout.
So I'm just saying, what if?
Oh man,
there is an alternate universe somewhere where the hat is the key.
Okay, and Cody, yeah, you're one of them, I guess. I knew that we've had some people email. I said my first Stephen King book was Gunslinger, followed immediately by the rest of the series. So my glasses have always been Dark Tower tinted. So and I knew we had some people over the years that had emailed us about that. So Cody was probably one of them. So yeah, I always find that fascinating because again, for me, I mentioned it on yesterday's episode, our Patreon hangout, is that for me, I knew of the Dark Tower series. I'd been reading King. Pretty much it was my first adult book, quote, is what I called it as a kid, right?
Yeah.
I read chapter books with Goosebumps, but I was doing that to build myself up to the realm of reading King. And it's so I think it was around 12 or so when I read The Shining, which not a great book for a 12-year-old, not because of the horror elements, but there's a lot of adult themes in there that a 12-year-old just not going to understand. Now I read that, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot of shit in here where it's real, struggles of a father trying to provide for a family and whatever, all kinds of things like addiction and stuff that went right over 12-year-old Tad's head.
Yeah.
But so for me, as I grew and built through the bibliography and reading a lot of the classics, and most of mine was informed by movies I had seen and stuff. And it's I want to read that movie or read that book now. I've seen that movie a few times. And I remember it was probably in junior high or so that I started to understand there was a Dark Tower series, but it just always felt like it's one of those things that's Everest. And not necessarily that I'm not ready for it, and I wouldn't be able to do it.
You don't want to die. You don't want to die on the way up.
It was more of a thing of it's weird because I feel like I said to myself I'm not ready for that yet, but it wasn't a matter of I couldn't have taken it on. It was more of I think I understood the feast that it would be just because of the fact I looked and even just glanced at. I mean, at the time we didn't even have the series finished, so I would have been looking at this, but just looking at the fact that there's 4 or 5 books, whatever, that just felt a thing where it's that's just that's your main course. Don't eat that up front, right? If you got nothing,
you got to save it.
Yeah, And that's how I remember kind of viewing it until I finally did, bite the bullet and decided to dive in and stuff. So for me, we all come at it different for sure. But yeah,
I just got told when to read it, so that was out of my control. Chris joins us in the chat and says hi, chaps.
Oh, Chris from Australia. We've had
is that Chris from Australia?
Had a few different Chris's over the years that pop in and out. So yeah, welcome from the other side of the world.
From the future.
From the future too. Indeed.
How is the future treating you?
I just saw someone online that I was a post on the King of the Hill. It's about to drop on Monday, I think. And someone's like, "Oh, I can't wait for it tomorrow." And they're like, "You're wrong." And then they post something, and it's like, "Oh, they're from Australia, so for them it is tomorrow."
Yeah.
I wish I was in Australia because then King of the Hill would be tomorrow and not 2 days from now. That would be a happy thing.
But I thought you would never wanted to go to Australia.
I mean, there's a lot of things trying to kill me there.
It's true. But you get King of the Hill sooner.
Have you seen that whole thing with kangaroos? It's a kangaroo is just a deer that went to prison. And
no, the best thing about kangaroos I ever heard was okay. Picture a dinosaur. What dinosaur do you picture? T-Rex, right?
Probably.
That's okay. Cover it in fur. That's a kangaroo.
Yeah. I mean, kangaroos don't have little tiny arms though.
They're not as big as their legs, so I mean.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on over to the next one here. Oh, I already have it up on the screen.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had changed already. So this one is Stephen King's new sci-fi show. It's a perfect teaser for Mike Flanagan's upcoming Dark Tower series. This is by Dhruv Sharma from Screen Rant on July 22nd, 2025. He starts out by saying that the Institute is a perfect teaser for Mike Flanagan's Dark Tower series, lending a glimpse of what Flanagan series might look like. Chris says, Cody, I also started with Gunslinger and the rest of the series. A great intro to his works. Okay, so, man, look at that.
2 for 2.
Two. And again, I was saying earlier, it is rare. I mean, of all the people we've talked to over the years, there's been only a few that started there.
Yeah.
And look at that. What are the odds?
You purposely kept me away from it for a while.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, I feel like I was also like getting you like the frog with the water, turning the heat up a little bit, because ultimately, like, even like you were kind of intimidated by like some of the longer books like The Stand or It or whatever. So it's like, I was trying to
yeah, because I mean, seriously, the reading history of Peter at that point had been Goosebumps, Animorphs, and then I started dabbling in Dean Koontz, which were very thin books compared to It and The Stand.
Yeah. Not books you can kill someone with if you were to like put it in a pillowcase and swing it at someone.
I don't think you have to put it in a pillowcase. I think you could just hit them with it.
Yeah, that's, probably true too, especially if it's hardcover. So he recaps it so far in 2025. It's been a great year for King adaptations on the big screen, and we've also had a few small screen adaptation. It's been a good year so far, but we do have some big screen and small screen ones still to come. Also, the Institute's critical response is not among the best of all time, but it's better than a lot of recent TV adaptations. Have you started yet?
I don't have MGM Plus, so I'm waiting for it to be done to
get
it and binge it.
Okay. So he goes on to point out, like, so it is getting good reviews, like, again, not like world beating, like whatever, but it's certainly been better than some stuff that we've maybe seen more recently. He goes on to point out that what we've all thought back when the novel was announced, that what we on this show thought about when the novel was announced, that it's, this story is very very similar to Dark Tower in some aspects. In fact, I remember we all speculated when the synopsis hit that these would be breakers. I mentioned that earlier as well.
Yeah.
So he makes a similar connection to the show, that it feels very similar to Breakers. He spells out the connection a bit, namely the use of gifted children to accomplish tasks, and points out many readers theorize that the Institute is connected to Sombra in some way. He then talks about how the King universe is full of gifted children, and even connects the injections given to the kids in this story with the one that Charlie's parents are given in Firestarter.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad connection there.
Yeah.
With Charlie isn't given shots, but her parents are both given experimental shots, and thus Charlie is born. He also mentions Carrie, Danny, Joe/Leo, and the kids from Tommyknockers. He also points out that Flanagan is adapting Carrie currently, so he's kind of connecting a lot of dots about, like, this just feels quintessential King, but also that, like, he kind of ties the connection of, like, of the fact that, what we all talked about back in, what was that, 2018 or so, what if the Institute came out in 2019. So we would have got the synopsis probably in 2018. Is that right? Yeah. So probably late 2018 when the synopsis came out, we're like, oh my God, this is going to be Dark Tower related. So he kind of makes those connections where it's like, ultimately this may be almost feel like a dry run, where it's like if people end up liking this, like, and then Flanagan series comes down the road, there's not a huge jump leap from one to the other, although he does admit that it will take time before Flanagan's Dark Tower reaches this element of the story, because we don't really reach this till the final book of the series. Of course, if you read some of the connected books, we get to some of the stuff earlier with Dinky Earnshaw and stuff, but ultimately Flanagan's series is likely not going to see any of this show out
Ted Brodigan
until much later. Ted shows up in 2001
Hearts in Atlantis.
So so you have some things that show up earlier in as a reader, but ultimately you're in Dark Tower wise, you don't see it come together until the very end of until the final book. So, but despite that, the Institute is a perfect tease for the eventual Flanagan Dark Tower series. And I think it's definitely one I'm looking forward to reading or watching. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about signing up here pretty soon. I haven't had a whole lot of time. But
I just checked and looked to see, like, when does the season end. The finale, 8 episodes, airs on August 24th. So
okay,
it's got a couple more episodes to go.
So like me, if I sign up for a month of it now, I'm covered.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I'll end up doing, because I've been hearing some good stuff on it, and I would love to dive on into it.
I just have to decide when I'm going to do it, because I am going to be watching Peacemaker season 2, and that comes out next week or the week after. So
I thought it was later in August, but and that's probably week to week on HBO. So
it is week to week. It
yeah,
comes out August 21st. So
what, one overlap. So
Yeah.
might be a good time for anyone if you're wanting to be economical. Go and do your whatever $6-7 a month for MGM Plus right now, and it'll carry you through early September, which would easily cover you for the Institute show.
Yeah, $6.99 per month after a 7-day free trial. So
yeah, so you'd end up being like mid-September by the time, because you go the chunk 7 days and then your thing starts, so a week from today. And so so that's kind of an interesting connection though, and it kind of made me laugh because it feels like just the conversations we were having in 2018 when that first synopsis came out for the Institute.
It's the Breakers.
Like, it's gonna be the Breakers, oh my god. And then of course then we read it, and it's like, yeah, we could certainly look at how they would exist in the same universe, but ultimately it wasn't the Breakers. It's people using children similarly in a way, but it's more smaller scale, like versus trying to break the beams of the Dark Tower. It's just like trying to almost like sway like
governments
and politics and like assassinations and just crazy, like, but it feels way smaller, right? And then that's why I almost wonder if like Sombra is like doesn't really care, and maybe they even just like manipulate the Institute in their own ways, or it's like, well, we kind of need this leader gone, so let's send it down to some subsidiary company that's the Institute.
Let's contact our contractor in the Institute, or it's just a branch of them. Like there's different departments, right? Like the Institute is just another department inside of Sombra. So you don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know.
Yeah, no, for
they
sure.
Make it sound like it's part of the government, though, don't they?
Yeah, but who's to say that Sombra is not all tied up in the government?
Facts.
The board with all the string is appearing behind me. Let's see. Cody says I started with the audiobook with George Guidel, the poetic scenic descriptions, and George's voice was like crack. I was hooked so hard. That's I love George. Like, I know everyone always tends to like see him as like the lesser between he and Frank, and I understand why some people might think that, but it's like there's part of me
still amazing.
There's part of me that's like, when you get to that those tail ends, like especially book 7 and some of the like just apocalyptic, not apocalyptic necessarily, but like the shit we see in like In-World, I could not picture Frank reading that, and I almost don't want to, because George's voice is perfect for that. Like when you're in Empathica,
In-World,
like,
End-World.
Yeah, and when you're like in Empathica, that just feels like George. Like, and I know that he read it, and there may be a bias there, but I just think that his voice is perfect for like that.
Yeah,
just. Like that snow blanketed thing. We got the castles. Like that all feels so much perfect for George. And even like in retrospect,
even like the chase with the monster that I was talking about earlier, with like the pure horror element of it.
Yeah,
with like the dark and trying to stay in the light and everything like that. That fits so well with George's voice.
Yeah, and even like the fact that King rewrote the first book or revised the first book, and like I think George's voice works almost better for book 1 than Frank's did. Because like it does have that weird, like his voice almost has like this almost otherworldly element of like there's like a readiness to his voice that just feels like the desert. Like when I'm picturing the desert, like I would expect a George type voice narrating if it were a movie or whatever, right? So not to take anything away from Frank, of course Frank's a genius, I love him. It's kind of the same way I almost couldn't picture George reading like those middle books, because those just feel so like, and again, so maybe it's somewhat the bias of who actually read them, but like I don't know, like the New York stuff,
I couldn't imagine George reading Wizard and Glass with like all the stuff with Susan. I can't picture George doing that. I just can't.
And I think Frank has more of a warmth to his voice, and I feel like that warmth goes with book 4, right? Like
and even book 5 as well, because it's like Roland's turned that corner now. After Wizard and Glass, and he's becoming something more than just the cold Terminator. And
the Kala is kind of like set aside from like the destruction of the rest of the world. Like it kind of feels like more normal, right? Like they're able to harvest. Like it's not like they've got fucking mutants coming out eating their children. Like, I mean, yes, their children are being taken, but it's like it's kind of like with book 4, it's a flashback, and you're seeing before the world really started to move on, and you see Magus, and it's like, okay, that just feels Frank. And I feel like book 6, even though book 5, you've come back to the present tense, but you're in this weird like corner where it's like, I think like Sombra and stuff, North Central Positronics, whoever you want to call it, would have seen that like, hey, if we're gonna get these children the way we need them, you kind of want a little oasis where it like it's not
The funny thing is that the thing I always forget is that it's not just this little oasis, not just Caliber and Sturgis. There's multiple Kalas going up and down the river and everything like that. So it's like, it's almost like what I always picture.
The Nile.
I picture like the West Coast kind of thing. It's like Washington, Oregon, California, and then you got the bad parts as you go into the Nevada desert kind of thing.
Yeah, Death Valley and
Death
stuff.
Valley and
but
stuff.
I think of like the
that.
Nile,
So,
where it's like you got that fertile crest, where it's like you got like
it's
that.
just like when you
that
look at a
tiny
satellite
strip.
photo of it, it's yellow and brown and then green.
Yeah. And then, because ultimately it makes sense too, because they're all along this river too. So it's
Right.
like, but I do think there's almost like a thing where it's like, even the more evil elements have protected this area from like full on deterioration because it benefits them to have it the way it is, right? Versus like Brown. I think of Brown as the opposite, right? Like Brown and his hut in the middle of fucking nowhere in the middle of a
There's
desert.
a little bit of beans and a little bit of corn.
Yeah, like that's just like that's not a place if you were like breeding children to like use their brain matter. Like you wouldn't want them in that.
You
Because
wouldn't want any of the kids from Tull.
No, exactly. So yeah, it all kind of makes sense and it kind of fits the. I know that's a whole tangent, but I do feel like
That's what we do here.
I feel like the narrator's voices really fit the books that they cover,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's just my bias of that's the ones they read. I think like they almost like tonally fit the narrators. So
Chris says, I think George's voice suits the more Western aspects of the series, and that's really clear in the Gunslinger. Also, the stuff in the Kala.
yeah, exactly. And then Cody says special powered children from Shots. Does that sound familiar? Duffer Brothers. Hey,
I mean, they were influenced by Stephen King heavily. They've come out and said it.
I mean, their logo is pretty much Stephen King font.
Yeah.
So. And I mean, ultimately,
They wanted to do it, and
It.
they were told no, and they're like, "Fine, we'll make our own it.
we'll go do
And
something.
it'll have blackjack and hookers." Oh wait,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
It'll have specially powered kids made by Shots.
Yeah. So the next one here we've got is a few Dark Tower casting ideas. This is from a couple separate articles from Game Rant.
That's Lucifer.
By Allison Avina. So these are, one is like early June and then one's late July.
Okay.
So I actually almost had the first one on the last episode, but we didn't have time, so I just skipped it. And so now I'm like, whatever, it's short, but like, so the first one she posts on June 2nd. So the Dark Tower, Chris Evans is perfect for one key figure. So any guesses
Eddie.
for Mr. Chris Evans?
Eddie.
Okay, so this article's from Game Rant, and she makes the argument that Flanagan should cast Chris Evans in the Dark Tower as John Farson.
The fuck? What?
I love it.
You don't even see Farson.
Yeah, I wonder.
Ever.
I think we might in the series though, because you see him in the comics a bit.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a feeling that some of those things will get fleshed out because like I think like that weird like distant unseen threat doesn't work as well on screen as it does in a book, because in a book you could like get in people's heads and like have them thinking about it or whatever, but when you're in like a show, like you kind of need to see something or someone. Like it's hard to have like a disembodied name that's just this distant threat in a show or movie.
Back to Game of Thrones, you see the zombies.
Yeah, or like Lord of the Rings, like they give the mouth of Sauron, like and they almost made that like a re-embodied Sauron. Thank God they didn't do that, but there was a thought to do that, right? So it's like it helps to have that person in front of you. So interestingly, I learned from this article that he was in Ethan Cohen's film Honey Don't, in which he plays a cult leader. Yeah. So I did not know that.
Yeah.
So that means that 2 of the 3 MCU characters have played cult leaders now, with Chris Hemsworth
Hemsworth did in
Bad Times
at El Royale.
at the El Royale. So
And Robert Downey Jr.'s played a cult leader already.
has he?
Yeah. He's Iron Man. Well, we all follow the cult of Iron Man. What are you talking about?
Nah, I like my heroes superpowered, sir. So the article mentions that Roland never runs into Farson, but says that if you were to portray him as with Evans, that would bring a charisma and ruthlessness to the that the character would need. Being able to charm politicians but glare at subordinates and chill their blood, that's a kind of role that someone like Chris Evans could pull off. And I think that it's totally legit, and I think that like Knives Out is a perfect example. I haven't seen the Ethan Cohen movie Honey Don't, but I love that because like in Knives Out, him playing just so opposite of what Captain America was perfect, and he fucking nailed it. And that's why I'm like, give me more of that. Give me more scummy.
Eat shit.
Yeah.
Eat shit. That scene alone was just like, oh, Captain America.
Yeah,
Language.
language.
I also love the fact, did you pick these pictures or did they?
I think no. I picked these actually. I just Googled the actors.
I just have to commend you on picking Scott Pilgrim versus the world.
I was
picture
looking for something to
Chris.
give me like some attitude,
Yeah.
and like in Knives Out, he has like he certainly has attitude, but it's never like what you'd almost picture with a Farson. So I was like that when I found that picture, I'm like, that's probably the closest to what I want, because I can't do like smiling Captain America, like that's not gonna. You would just see that and go, no, there's no way that could be Farson.
I mean, if you want an attitude with Chris Evans, you should have gone to Johnny Storm. So
Cody says, wasn't he the bad guy in The Gray Man?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I've seen that.
I haven't seen it, but it's the one on Netflix with Gosling.
Oh, okay. Cody also says I have the same book of the Talisman that they were reading in Stranger Things, which that was a cheeky little Easter egg there. I want them to just finish this Stranger Things out so they can start working on the Talisman.
They're almost done.
I know, but
it's coming out this year.
I know, but just move on now. Let's get to Talisman. Let's get that going.
It's basically going to be done, right? Like they're probably
but there's going to have to be
starting-
pressed. They're probably doing post production still because like it doesn't come out till the end of the year, so it's probably the whole chunk.
I haven't watched the trailer for the last part of Stranger Things. Did they give a date?
No, but we've covered it on Geekery Abides. It's like around Thanksgiving for the first chunk, and then the next chunk is around Christmas and New Year's. So they're splitting it up.
Yeah, this says November 26th for the first chunk.
Yeah.
And then Christmas Day. And then the last one is December 31st?
Yeah.
A week later?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
It's all broken up. It's stupid.
That's weird.
So secondly, the same writer wrote on July 25th, so about a month and a half later. She mentions Mark Pellegrino, Lost, Dexter, and I had to call out the Big Lebowski because he's the one that dunks him in the toilet. Where's the money, Lebowski?
Oh, is he really?
Yes.
He's a huge part of Supernatural.
And she says he's a good pick as Randall Flagg.
He would make a great Randall Flagg. If you ever want an example of him playing like evil and demonically
that's not
possessed
Flagg,
and stuff like
so.
that, yes, it is. Shut the fuck up. In Supernatural, the story is that the angels have to ask permission to possess a human's body. Otherwise, it's like the Bible. Humans can't grasp angels. They're like blinding white light. He goes into this guy, and he plays he's Lucifer for a long time throughout the series. And he's fantastic at it. He's got like the wit, the sass, and everything like that of him. But also, there's moments where he's just downright fucking creepy as hell.
Yeah.
So I think that would
And-
be a great casting for Flagg.
And she points out the key things for Flagg is wicked sense of charm mixed with dread and horror. In one moment, he could be a smooth talker, in the next, laughing maniacally. And these are things that Mark has shown capable of throughout his career. So yeah, I don't know. Both of those hit my desk and shit. And I was like, you know what? Probably don't need to go too
Why not?
in depth on it, but it's kind of fun to look at for sure.
I don't like the Farson one. I don't think it fits. I don't think there's any way that you insert him into the story with unless you do Jericho Hill. That is the only way that I could see it.
I think you might.
You think Flanagan will do Jericho Hill?
And I think you might add scenes into like the book 4 element where like you might see like Eldred being hired, you might see the ball being passed on. I think there's some stuff that King just leaves out because you don't kind of need it necessarily. But I think for Flanagan that's going to be approaching new audiences and stuff, I think that you're going to have some of these scenes that are unrealized in the book because it makes more sense in a show to have like those setups and stuff.
Yeah.
So Chris Evans, I'll take him anytime. So and playing someone villainous, I'm all about it. Next up, we've got Stephen King's Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon movie is now in the works.
Nice.
So this is I don't think this has been announced before. I think at one point we had it on our like big board, but it was like from years and years and years ago, and like I don't even remember. So I want to say we may have even pulled it off of the board because it was just so like whatever.
There had been nothing.
But this is from the Hollywood Reporter from Boris Kitt on July 24th, 2025. So Lionsgate, which is soon releasing The Long Walk, is staying in the King business. They have optioned the rights to King's 1999 novel, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which that tells me that if it was a previous thing that it no longer existed, that's why they were able to option the rights. So JT Molnar is set to write and direct. He previously wrote and directed the brilliant and underrated Strange Darling from 2024. He also wrote the screenplay for The Long Walk. So he's also has some Stephen
So he's
King.
a King alumni.
Yeah. So superstar producer Roy Lee is producing. He produced The Long Walk and Strange Darling, and he's going to be producing this. Lee has previously produced both It movies as well as Doctor Sleep and Salem's Lot. So
Definitely a Stephen King alumni then.
He's got a lot, yeah. So King's psychological horror novel centers on the harrowing survival story of a 9-year-old girl named Trisha as she struggles to stay alive after getting lost in the woods alone. With only her Walkman radio playing baseball games to keep her company, the girl's love for pitcher Tom Gordon begins to manifest in hallucinations that may save her life. I will also point out hilariously in the last month or so, there's been a number of opinion type things posted. I've even seen them come across my news feed and stuff where people are kind of pissed about the Stand announcement, and they're like, there's been a few actually that actually pointed out where it's like, the girl who loved Tom Gordon's never been adapted. Why the fuck are we doing the Stand for the third time?
Yeah.
I think Carrie was similar. Like there's a couple ones where people pick a certain name out of the bibliography and say, well, this has never been adapted. Why are we doing Carrie for a fourth time or fifth time, whatever it is, right? And so it was just hilarious to me that in the last month I saw those comments with the Stand. And then here we are, fast forward to now, and now
it is.
Lionsgate's doing it. So got a quote here from the Lionsgate Motion Picture Group president, Aaron Westerman. He says, JT is a filmmaker we believe has a bright future. Throughout his work, he creates characters, and especially young characters, that are so compelling, heartbreaking, and emotional that they pop off the screen. And, of course, that's what Stephen King does so well on the page. The story of survival and perseverance in The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon is timeless. We love this tale for a long time, and JT is a perfect choice to adapt and direct the King fan favorites. So I have actually not read this one. I know you have. So
I sure have.
What do you think? You excited for an adaptation?
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's one of the things I love about it is that it is going to give a younger actress a really good chance to shine, which is going to be awesome to see.
Yeah.
It's one of the very few King books where there's not a large cast.
Yeah.
This is one of those casting listings where it could be under 15.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, you could have under 15 people in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it would not be hard to do.
This will probably speed it up to my list a bit for a read now.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, this is just barely being signed now. We're probably a couple years away from it being a thing.
Oh, yeah, David, did you not? I don't know if you were here when we announced that.
I'll also throw the big board up on the...
Oh, yeah, thank you. David said, The Stand, again, why? Also, David, I don't know if you heard this. It's going to be a one-off movie. Not 2 movies, not 3 movies, not a one movie.
Not a TV series.
A movie.
Not a series of movies, not 2 movies, but 1 movie.
Yep.
Apparently, the studio was sold by the person that's writing it, and the person had a pitch that they thought was legit. I have no clue.
You don't have The Stand on the movies.
Because I was... Oh yeah, I guess I haven't added that, have I?
Yeah.
But because I was even thinking about it or this morning maybe.
Oh, welcome, Carol.
Where I was thinking about you and me, you're an It fan, I'm a Stan fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, It I think is even an easier one to distill down to 1 movie, even if you just ignored the adult side and just did the kids. Like ultimately what Muschietti would have done if it had not been successful, that would have been a one-off movie. But that's a good movie that feels very well rounded. It doesn't feel incomplete. It would have, of course,
like if A New Hope had never spawned sequels, if that had been the one Star Wars movie, it could have ended that way.
Yeah,
and Lucas made it that way.
Yeah, and ultimately, whereas The Stand just doesn't have that. Like, there's no easy, clear way of I can distill this into a single movie. The Stand is so goddamn wide, and
we were literally talking about this yesterday. How do you do it? And you had the one idea of just
fixate on one character.
Okay,
yeah,
it's Larry's journey. What happens with Larry? That kind of thing. So it's that's it. That's the story.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a few people catching up. Carol as well. Welcome, Carol. So it seems like some people missed that. Yeah. So that was last roundtable, I think, that we covered.
So about a month ago. Yeah.
So it's definitely a strange one. But The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, though. I don't have much of an opinion. I know it has a good reputation with. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone that's read it that's not liked it. Of course, people's like of it varies, but I've never heard anyone was like, that book sucked, like it was just terrible. Like
it's not Tommy.
I've never heard that once. So I mean, I'm there for. I love the even just the basic premise I've heard sounds interesting and good.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one that I need to add to my my list.
It's definitely one as well that has a realistic aspect of it, because it's something that I was a Boy Scout, I was an Eagle Scout and everything like that. And one of the things that they talked about is what happens if you get lost in the woods? What do you do and everything like that?
Keep wandering, right?
No, God damn it, Tad. No, don't listen to him.
Just keep wandering. You'll find someone eventually.
No. That is not what you do. But, like, it's so
Set
fascinating.
the forest on fire. They'll find you.
That's better than wandering. Jesus Christ, though. You're going to die of the fire, though. But, no, it's just like, I love the realistic element of it is that literally she's out for a hike with her mom and brother, and she steps off the trail to go to the bathroom, and literally just gets turned around and gets lost.
Yeah.
That's literally how she gets lost, and that is so real. I've read
Yeah.
so many stories of people that are like, oh, I stepped off the trail because I saw an animal, like a squirrel, and I wanted to go to get a picture of it, and I couldn't find my way back to the trail, and,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
So another one that also is going to have to be a period piece. Cell phones would ruin the entire story.
Not necessarily. There's a lot of hiking trails. I mean, we live in Utah, Tad. There's a lot of hiking trails right there on those mountains that have no cell signal.
It's getting less and less.
It's getting less and less,
getting
but
less and less.
also people sometimes, what I would like to see, this is how you do it. You don't make it a period piece. You make the mom leave them, hey, this is family time. Leave your phones in the car. That's what you do. That's what you do.
I think there's going to be a lot of people mad at that parent because I think that's very negligent to have cell phones and not because I don't know. Let's see.
Cody asked, does anyone remember the short story that set up the stand? It was Night Surf.
Oh yeah.
What the hell is that? I've never heard of that.
Oh really? Yeah, so I got that added to the board. Peter is correct. I think I forgot to grab the board when we talked about the stand. I think I was so flummoxed by the idea that
we're floored by it.
Yeah, I don't understand, but yeah. So next up, we're gonna talk about the so this one is titled "The Creators of Stephen King's Latest Series Reveal Why the Author is Not Keen on Doing Cameos Anymore." This is by Federico Ferzan from MovieWeb on July 19th, 2025. Federico points out the Institute is now premiered on MGM Plus, and it seems like another winner in the catalog of adaptations for King's massive bibliography. He then says that in the spirit and style of his, it's very much in the style of his previous adaptations. But he points out one big difference from some older adaptations, and that's that King does not show up, and King used to be a regular cameo person in a lot of his adaptations. Certainly not all, but a number of them. Series creator Jack Bender and writer Benjamin Cavill confirmed he won't appear anywhere in the series, even in the future, but it's not for lack of trying. So Bender worked on Under the Dome and Mr. Mercedes, and Bender mentioned King's cameo on Mr. Mercedes, saying, on Mr. Mercedes, he came to the set, and it was a massacre that was happening in the mind of our hero villain, which that's a fun phrase. And he's seeing all these dead people that he's killed in a diner, and we're like, will you be in the shot for me? And he said, sure, but I knew he probably wasn't going to get to the set, and he said, cameos, I'm not really doing that much anymore. Sometimes it's just not a good thing. So, but he did do it though. I think he's the cook. He has like a cleaver in him, and he's like hunched over like the count, like the not the counter, but like the where you slide the food.
Yeah.
Like to
orders up, ding.
Yeah, exactly. He's like dead with a fucking cleaver in his side or whatever.
Hal Agamorphy, welcome.
So Cavill, which said that he did not intend for him to. They intended for him to not only have a small cameo but a rather important role. And he says, quote, yeah, he worried that it was distracting, which I think it can be. I mean, there was this notion, I don't even remember who suggested it, but there was this notion at some point that he might play the lisping man. So in the Institute.
Oh, okay.
That was a fairly big role later in the story.
Yeah.
Which I think he, by the way, before anybody else said, I think he said it was a real mistake. He said, I really think you need a real actor for that. And then Cavill goes on and says, I mean, we just got an incredible actor for it, but yes, there's too much narrative weight on that character, I think, to make it be Steven. But look, in season 2, we all know he'll want to come in and do, or we know he'll want to come in and do anything he wants, I guess. So it sounds like we might be getting a season 2. I mean, it hasn't been signed, so
yeah.
But it sounds like they might have hope for a season 2. So
Agamorphy says he can be seen in the opening credits. Is that
yes.
The Institute?
No. They end up using that diner scene in the opening credits, Mr. Mercedes.
Dude, I really need to watch that. I've never fully watched that.
You should, because I think you're going to be very angry that you've waited this long. Because it's good, for sure. So, and then Agamor says to you, I'm glad he didn't play the lisping man. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so next up we've got, grab the next slide here, some assorted long walk bits. So this is from various articles. First up, I have a slide that's cycling through some new cast posters that were released. So those will be cycling on the screen as we hit a few of these other bits. These are taken from Fangoria. I'll have the links for this on the show notes. But they also released a new trailer at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I sent it to you to watch. So what do you think?
I mean, one of the best shots I've ever seen in cinema. That crow just strung up.
Hashtag Peter is terrible.
At all Silence of the Lambs style, on the fence and everything. That was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Hashtag Peter is terrible.
To see flags strung up like that.
No.
They recognized evil right there. That's what that was.
No.
It looks... This trailer is a little bit different than the other one.
Way better in my opinion.
This
I don't
one
know
looks way darker.
Way darker. Way
Yeah.
just like I was gonna see it no matter what. And the first trailer didn't necessarily let me down. Like I was like, okay, yeah, no, this looks fun. Like and like I hope that they're going to fully embrace like
The
everything.
dark, yeah.
And this one though, I'm like, oh my god, like this is going to be fucking.
I think
brutal.
it's also going to be a lot more Hayden-worthy than we thought.
Oh yeah.
I think there's some gruesomeness to this.
Oh yeah,
that-
100%. So yeah, I'll have a link in the show notes, but this just came out about a week ago at San Diego Comic-Con. It is an incredible trailer. I think it looks, this movie looks, it's jumped up the list for me. I think I've always kind of just been saying that like, The Running Man, because Edgar Wright, I'm a huge fan of Edgar Wright. I'm way more interested in The Running Man than the Long Walk. Also, The Long Walk is one that I really, when I read it, I wasn't super in the mood for. So I ended
Right.
up not enjoying it nearly as much as most people did. So because of all that, The Long Walk is certainly the in the B tier for me of the two that are films that are still coming out.
Yeah.
This makes it a much stiffer competition for me, where I'm like, okay, this might be 1A and 1B now, because like this looks great, and it really does look like they're fully embracing the nature of what this story
Yeah,
is.
they made like the little bit of America that you get to see, which is the citizens and the towns and everything like that they go through, just looks run down and horrible. Like they wave at someone and the person doesn't wave back, and
Yeah.
people look miserable and everything like that. And then like the gruesomeness that we've seen in this trailer is
Yeah.
a lot more than I thought was going to be in the movie based off of that first trailer.
And this is coming out September 12th, which
Yeah.
is Hayden's birthday. So,
Happy birthday, Hayden.
oh, you know what I just realized though?
Yeah,
There's a chance that Hayden and I might not be in the country.
that day. You going to Mexico again?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm hitting 40 this year, so we're talking about potentially, because his birthday's literally a week exactly before mine.
Yep.
So we're talking about potentially going down for 2 weeks, celebrate both of our birthdays, including my 40th down in
There you
Mexico.
go.
So there's a good chance that we might have to wait a couple weeks for the long walk, because I might be out of pocket.
Well, I might have to go see it with my wife then.
Yeah. Take your daughter.
She thinks it looks great, so
Take your daughter.
no.
She's been wanting to embrace, horror movies and scary
I
stuff.
don't
This
know.
isn't really
I don't
horror.
really- I
but-
was gonna say I don't really know if you would count this as horror. So.
No, not definitely not. All right. So, any other thoughts you had on the trailer before we move on?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. So next we have an article from Screen Rant where they interviewed the screenwriter of The Long Walk, J.T. Molnar, which we just talked about because he just got signed on for Tom Gordon. And this is at San Diego Comic-Con. He said, quote, "I've been a constant reader since I was a little kid.
Nice.
I read Carrie. It was my first adult novel that I ever read. Believe it or not, I was in second grade.
Jesus.
I was 7, and I was allowed to buy it off a rack at a used book rack at a place called Bart's Books in Ojai, Ojai, Ojai. I don't know how to say that. It's like all the people that get made fun of here in Utah for all the stupid named towns we have here, and they're like, "Oh, we can tell you're an outsider because you can't say these stupid names that
Yep.
make no logical sense in any language." And he says, "When I was on vacation, he says I took it into my classroom and I was just inching my way through it. I didn't understand a lot of it, which sounds very familiar to Tad, that at age 12 was reading The Shining. But I was obsessed with the cover, and I knew and how Stephen King's name was bigger than the title and the image that's there." And he chuckles. It was just iconic, and I got through the book. I also got sent to the principal's office for having it.
Is there a different slide for this?
No, it's all
Just all part of the long walk.
The
Gotcha.
Long
Just
Walk,
wanted to
yeah.
make sure.
Yeah, so he got sent to the principal's office for having it. He says, and my mom showed up and said, "I don't let my kids watch R-rated movies or anything like that, but I'm never, ever going to tell them not to read something." So that was inspiring to me, and I kept reading Stephen King.
That's always perplexed me. That's
I mean,
mind-boggling to me to think about that like, no, you can't watch rated R movies, but here, rape, murder, in a book. It's like, well,
I mean,
hold on.
I look at that from the perspective of the way I was raised. I wasn't protected from any movies either. I could watch whatever I wanted in terms of like R-rated or whatever. So I just think ultimately like it's all kind of dumb. But yeah,
I just don't get that one's okay but one's not, when literally they can be the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think there's like a thought, whether it's legit or not, that the visual is different.
Is more traumatizing for kids.
Potentially,
kind of
yeah. I mean, again, I don't believe in any of it, but yeah. And he says, so he's been a major part of my formative process as a writer, and I notice even things in my style when I write prose or when I write screenplays that echo Stephen King's style. I think it's just because I grew up learning how to write by reading him. So I think this is a good fit. I pause here from his quote. And, so this is probably a good sign that he respects King's work, and The Long Walk is probably going to be very true to the King novel.
I mean, the trailer looks like it.
Yeah, very much so. And then I have another quote. Sometimes the idea of writing for someone else can be nightmarish. This time it was a dream. He wanted to go all the way. King wanted us to go all the way. I knew we could be honest and faithful. If this got into the hands of the wrong studio or filmmaker, it could have lost it. And then he trails off and says it has teeth about the movie. So, that all feels very encouraging for sure.
Yeah.
And Agrimorphy says beautifully made slide, Tad. Thank you. That's it's always easy when I've got like a cycle of pictures. It's also interesting that they basically use the same format, so it's just changing the person.
Yeah.
It almost seems like the picture's not changing. I'm also super excited for Mark Hamill, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's Mark. I love Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
David says the visual in the audio can definitely be more traumatizing if you're a little kid than simply reading it. Agamorphy says, I wanted my now 18-year-old to read whatever he wanted, but I was very selective about movie content.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
It's
pretty normal. But I honestly think that that might come a lot from some parents, too, that aren't readers. And they just don't truly know that, like they've read what they were given in high school and shit. And so, like, maybe they think that everything stays in those bounds of, like, high school books.
It's acceptable, yeah. But, like, I think about, like, some of the stuff that's in Stephen King's books of reading at second grade level. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of King stuff that I wouldn't want my 12-year-old reading, let alone a second grader.
Like your audiobook experience?
Yeah.
Where you got to some Henry Bowers chapters?
No, I don't. I don't want that. Exactly. Like, and there's some stuff like that in The Stand as well. So it's like, no, I don't want that kind of stuff in my kid's head. So
yeah, and I'm just like all for it. Especially, I mean, if a kid's, I mean, I really think they're overachieving a lot if they're reading that level. I mean, I feel like I was a little bit later in elementary before I was even reading like Goosebumps and shit. So I feel like that's really shows like kind of an advanced. I mean, again, even though he said he wasn't getting chunks of it right, as a 7-year-old or whatever, but it's like that does. I mean, yeah, that's what 5 years younger than what I was, and like, and I was. I think I was ahead of the curve a bit to be reading like an adult novel at age 12. Like most kids our age were like, maybe still reading Animorphs and Goosebumps if they're reading at all.
Right.
So it's like, it's definitely kind of interesting. So the next one I have still in this subset is an article saying that the footage shown at San Diego Comic-Con was so intense it had to be censored for The Long Walk. So the film had a panel at the legendary Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con where they had the cast.
Really?
Yeah.
Hall H for The Long Walk. Okay.
Yep. And they had a number of the cast members there, and I also have in parentheses props to Mark Hamill, who opened a jacket and had a shirt saying based on a novel by Richard Bachman. So bravo, Mark.
Here. We'll give him the proper applause that he deserves,
Yeah, I also want that shirt. It's a cool shirt, and it's like in the Stephen King font style. So
nice.
A video, and there was also a video from King himself that they played, and then they were shown the trailer that we just talked about a few minutes ago, and then they were shown a first look, and the first look was so harrowing that portions of it had to be blacked out.
Damn.
So the first look actually turned out to be the first 22 minutes of the film. So it was significant. But before it rolled, a screen came up saying the footage was deemed too intense for Hall H and then was rolled. So it basically turns into a thing where it's like,
there's kids here.
Yeah, exactly.
kind of
so
thing.
yeah, so that again, very very promising to me, because I don't know if I've ever heard of censorship at Hall H because it was too intense before. Like, that's
Here we go.
that's great. I can't wait. This movie jumped up quite a ways on my list of
On your radar.
even my overall movies. I mean, of course, it was on my list. I was going to see it no matter what. I'm a King
Yeah.
fan, but like it was like, yeah, it was just there in the crowd. But I think this now might be in like my top 5 for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So very excited. Let's see. Did I miss anything in the chat?
David said, I still think a 7-year-old should not be reading that book, talking about Carrie. And then Agamorphy said he had a hard time watching 1976 Carrie into his 20s. And David said, I totally agree that a second grader is way too young. I was just trying to think of why one would be different.
Yeah, it is
So,
though. That's a very common,
Yeah.
very common
It's just
distinction.
it's just interesting to me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that you police one form of media but not the other. You know, kind of thing.
It's.
I mean,
there's no parental advisory. There's no ratings for books
Right.
either. Like a kid could go to a library and check a Stephen King book out. There's no. You know, I've seen, especially in Utah, there was a portion when I was in elementary, but that was very localized, where like there was a controversy about like someone had donated some Goosebumps books, and there's a big old brouhaha at my elementary about if that was appropriate to be in the library.
Yeah.
But it's like
at a school library, not the county
yeah,
library.
at a school
Yeah.
library. But I mean, again, though, there were other books there that were far beyond.
Yeah, there's
Goosebumps, right?
there's books that they're talking about, like what's the book where the kids go wild and murder everyone?
Oh yeah,
The-
yeah. I'm blanking.
Not Watership Down, but it's the other one.
Yeah,
yeah.
Stupid rabbits.
It's something to do with animals, isn't it?
No, not Animal Farm comes to mind.
Yeah.
Probably it'll probably get thrown out in
someone
the
might
chat,
throw
but-
it in the chat, but yeah, it's just like things like that where it's like it's the reason why King removed Rage from publication, right? Is like it was influencing people, or it could influence people, so he
Yeah.
removed it. You know, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's like literary stuff can influence people.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as visual, but to me, man,
And-
I can tell you right now,
And here's one thing
I
I'll
watch
say.
I watch a movie. It's a movie. I
Yeah.
read a book. There's something about a book that I get into. Maybe it's just because I'm different.
No, and here's what I'll
So-
say is even on horror movies I've been watching since I was 5, a lot of times what's not shown is almost worse because it leaves it to your imagination,
Yes.
which is so much better than any special effect. And what does a book run on?
your imagination.
Your imagination. So.
And that's just like they took her into the room and she screamed for a while and then she stopped. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what's the kid gonna picture there?
Yeah.
You know?
Carol says, I think parents have the I'm just glad they're reading attitude and not really checking on what it is.
Right. That's
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah. So next up, we've got some more San Diego Comic-Con stuff, and this is It, Welcome to Derry. So set for HBO.
Oh, boy.
And they also got a first look at San Diego Comic-Con. So this is from Brian Truitt from USA Today. That's kind of an interesting one for us. July 27th, 2025. First off, the trailer was shown at San Diego Comic-Con. It revealed that the series would debut in October.
Lord of the Flies. Thank you, Robert. That's the
Okay.
one.
Yes. I knew it was something.
I knew it was something weird.
Yeah. So they also revealed. Did you notice that in the Welcome to Derry trailer? Did you notice it said October?
Yeah.
So we finally have a
Yep.
window.
I noticed it because my wife watched it with me,
Mm.
which is going to go into our conversation later about her reading it. So.
Okay. So not really a surprise. I feel like I've even speculated it would probably be an ideal time for it, late September into October, because not only spooky season, but also HBO tends to really love to put their big ticket items in the fall. Like that's just pretty standard for them. Not to say they don't have like that early spring to early summer, like The Last of Us type stuff that they'll do, but a lot of times their really big hitting shit comes out in the fall. So and especially thematically. So at San Diego Comic-Con, they showed off a second trailer, and and then they also showed the first 10 minutes of the first episode. The USA Today article said that the footage. Okay, so here's the question: there is a description of what what was shown for the first look. Is that something you're interested in, or do you want me to skip it? We've seen snippets of it already in the trailers.
Go ahead.
So if anybody doesn't want to, fast forward a couple seconds, or if you're live, just mute it for a second. So the article says the footage shown is a boy getting caught sneaking into the movies, which we've seen that boy in the movie theater, and then trying to hitchhike out of Derry. And we've seen that in the first trailer, right? Anywhere but Derry. And is picked up by a seemingly normal family headed to Portland. but in fact, it turns out they're headed to Derry. The family is, and this is how it's written. I'm just taking this word for word from them because this seems like a vast understatement. The family is revealed to be weird, and the mom, quote unquote, graphically gives birth in the car to a demon baby with wings and 2 heads. I think weird is underselling it a little bit.
What the fuck did you just say? What? Whoa! Ugh.
So Andy Muschietti warned afterwards that the whole series is like that, and then he laughs. So,
Oh my god.
yeah. So, and then the fact it says graphically makes me think this isn't going to be just she's giving birth in the front seat where you can't see. So Barbara Muschietti also said that it's important to the whole team that despite the change from film to TV, that they still wanted the same level of intensity and scariness. So
Good.
it's HBO. I don't think I ever even let it enter my mind that it was going to be less. I thought, if anything, with HBO, it might be worse. But apparently there's some people that haven't been in that same wavelength as me. So apparently that's very encouraging to some people. Whereas, like, again, I just assume, like, Hollywood studio spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a movie that's going to be a tentpole thing. Like, they're going to be very choosy about what's there. HBO, that's famous for telling people, you can do full frontal nudity, right? Like, we'd actually prefer you do it. Like, they sometimes lean on their people to go further with things. I'm like, I guess I've always thought this is going to be worse than the movies.
Carol just said, I really hope Welcome to Derry got the big HBO money treatment. Actually, that sounds awesome is what she says next. So it sounds like they did.
Yeah, so Andy said that it's actually more intense than the movies. Quote, we got away with a lot, and that's the stuff you'll be excited about. So, got away with a lot. Andy said that he was exhausted but excited after the films, but still fantasized about doing an origin story of how it came to be. Plus, there are all the historical moments from the books mentioned in the movie that are mentioned in the movie, like the Black Spot, the Bradley Gang, the Kitchener Ironworks, and all of which things Andy says he wants to explore in the show. King was excited as well, and it was actually his idea for the series to go backwards in time. If we all recall that we covered this previously. The first season takes place in 1962. The season 2 is going to take place in 1935, and the third season takes place in 1908.
Yeah,
so we're going to be progressively moving backwards.
See, this is the one thing that I noticed, and I was talking to my wife about it today when we watched it, is that it doesn't seem like they have any hints whatsoever, any shots whatsoever of any of those tragedies. And I listed them all for her. You got the fire at the Black Spot, the Kitchener Ironworks, the Bradley Gang, the massacre of the Silver Dollar, and then the entire fucking town disappearing.
Yeah, which
back in the day.
That's my ultimate hope, man.
So
I want that.
It's just like it's interesting. Like there's little hints here and there. Like the picture you have here on screen is someone in an Air Force uniform.
Yeah,
that's the Black Spot.
Yeah.
But where's the Black Spot? This isn't the Black Spot. This is like the sewer.
Yeah, that's where what's her name sees Pennywise doing that crazy dance.
Beverly,
Beverly, yeah.
So it's interesting that we don't have. They've mentioned it, but neither trailer. I went back and watched the first trailer too. There's nothing. There's nothing that makes me you don't see like an army base.
We've seen more of the Black Spot in the movies.
Yeah,
with what's his name's flashback.
Yeah,
or Vision.
Yeah.
In that alley.
So it's just like it's kind of interesting to me that like they're supposed to they're calling it like, well, yeah, we want to explore this, but nothing in either teaser, either trailer has shown.
They're not going to give the goods away in the trailers.
It's just I was talking to my wife. I honestly forgot that they had mentioned that they wanted to show those things.
Yeah,
I'm like, are they going to, or is this just like an original standalone series where they're just making a story up?
Like Castle Rock,
like Castle Rock kind of ish, where it's like, Pennywise ish, kind of thing, where it's just going to.
But I mean, Castle Rock that was like, it would have been set in Derry and there would have been it, but ultimately, like Castle Rock was like there were allusions to things in the King universe, but it was really creating its own story. Like there was never a time where it was the second season gets into a prequel of Misery,
right?
But ultimately, like there was never a point when it's like, oh my god, I'm watching fucking Needful Things, like all of a sudden, like, that never really happened. It was its own thing.
That's what I was saying is like it doesn't seem like they're taking anything from the book, like they're kind of just doing their own thing. But the way that what you just read makes it sound like that they are doing it.
Yeah,
and I just want to call it out. They don't show any of that in either trailer.
No, yeah, for
There's
sure.
nothing there. You get one guy in an Air Force uniform, and that's it.
Yeah, I will say as well, we didn't necessarily talk too much extensively about the trailer. I will say I'm already pretty much as hyped as I can be on this, so like the trailers are almost meaningless to me.
Yeah.
I will say, though, both trailers have been fucking bangers. This new
Yeah.
one is incredible. It will be in the show notes. I'll have the link to it over there as well.
It's
Do you have anything else to say about the trailer before I move on with the rest of the article here?
That movie theater scene is going to be bad. I got a feeling that movie theater scene is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Like, there was something there that I was like, wait,
Yeah.
that's not going to be good. And then the jars, the pickle jars.
Yeah.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you right now. I don't get creeped out easily, but
Yeah, and Agamorphy says Castle Rock succeeded in keeping the Stephen King vibes. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a very underrated thing. Carol says I hope we get all the book stuff, but because it's a series, it will have some filler stuff. I'm guessing, and that's probably true. So Andy said there's a reason why it goes backwards, but we can't tell you why. So, but
Okay.
it sounds like the key takeaway there though is that was King's idea.
Oh, Agamorphy, I'm stoked for this series.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I mean, it's it. Just,
Just hook it to my veins!
anything from that level of the tower. Yes.
Yeah.
I will take it.
Yeah, so King's idea to go backwards is interesting to me. Kind of makes me wonder, are we going to get something like The Stand, that last series where King wrote that last episode and gave us something new? And the fact that, like, we've never had the true explanation for Pennywise, and
Yeah.
are we going to thrust towards that where we might actually get it, and King's
we
going
got the
to help out to
what
the
do you mean?
point
We
of
got the true explanation of Pennywise.
it's ambiguous. So
They see him arrive on Earth.
So Andy says one of the most fascinating things about the book is its cryptic factor. You hear certain things, you get to the end of the book, but you still don't really know what it is. Now, us Dark Tower fans have a lot of theories on what it is. Some Toadash darkness monsters. He says we're going to ruin all of this. We're unveiling all the mysteries, but with very good taste. So it sounds like, again, I think they're actually going to be revealing way more than what where King left some stuff kind of nebulous, and like you again, us Dark Tower fans are able to insert some gaps there and go like, well, this sounds like a Toadash monster that came from that fucking Toadash and
Toadash darkness.
crossed over into this realm and just landed in this town and is just feasted for centuries. Like,
Yeah.
But it sounds like we might be getting more, and the fact that it was King's idea to go backwards makes me wonder if, like, I'm not gonna hold my breath, but I do wonder if King will do the same treatment he did for The Stand, where it's like, hey, I always felt bad that I didn't give Franny like her moment to like stand, so like let me write something for you to add to this, and I wonder if
I
it's
really hope that it's King approved.
I think it will be. That's what I'm saying. That the fact that the whole going backwards is King's idea makes me wonder if King's like, hey,
if you're going to answer questions about a King book, you better have King on board.
oh yeah,
with the answers.
yeah. I mean, one of the last cameos we saw from King was It Chapter 2. So he's tied in with Andy. And then about Bill returning as Pennywise, apparently Andy got used to him, but not so much for Barbara. Quote, I got used to it. Barbie, not so much. Andy Machete said. The thing is, he brings to the things he brings to this show are incredible. And then he says, and this is actually Barbara. So Barbara talking about Bill. He says, let's order some pizza. And I'm like, I can't look at you, Barbara Machete said. It's the eyes that get you. So apparently Barbara, even after making 2 full movies, still creeped out by Bill in the makeup. Also, they have done very good job of keeping Bill very
haven't seen him.
versus like the trailers, like the films, like they showed him off. We saw what the new Pennywise would look like.
The
like,
first teaser, they did not show Pennywise at all. That first teaser that exploded and destroyed it went crazy on the internet. They didn't show him hardly at all. It's the full trailer where you finally saw, like, I think it was like 1 or 2 shots of him. Is that it? They kept him very close to the vest.
But the very first image we ever saw in the magazine was him in the sewer, where you saw like the full costume, the full makeup, because like they didn't want to I think they wanted to get out in front of the whole Tim Curry comparisons right away. So the very first piece of imagery we ever saw was that there's 2. There was the one where it's like the diagonal sewer and his head was like popping out, so you just saw like the little like maybe the top half of his head, and then the next image that came a few weeks later, which we covered on the show, was like him full body top to bottom standing in the sewer. You saw the full costume, because I remember us kind of discussing where it's like, oh okay, they're kind of almost doing like more of an old timey clown, like something from like the 19th century or 18th century, versus like, to keep him distinct. So we did see him, even if it wasn't in the trailers. We saw Pennywise.
Yeah.
They didn't protect him, I think, because they wanted to get out and show like, here's what we're doing. Now, though, we all know, and now he's arguably the most iconic Pennywise at this point. Now, like, we got one image of him in this second teaser, and it's very
shadowy and dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
very
Cody asks, isn't Tack the same species as it? Cody, I don't think so. I don't think so. Tack doesn't shapeshift into creatures. He shapeshifts into other people, if I remember right.
I think also, so the Outsider, I think, is similar but not the same.
Right.
We've also talked about what's his name, Dandelo, probably being a similar thing, eating off the emotion and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it is one of those things, though. It's like in the end, I always like to look at the animal kingdom, just because like these two animals live on the Serengeti and they both have like hooves. Doesn't mean they're the same animal, right? But
Water buffalo, zebra.
Doesn't mean they don't have some similarities, and that's kind of where I look at some of these king creatures that like, oh, that's so close to Pennywise, but there's some distinctions that it's not.
The big thing also is that we have to remember, and this is something that comes up a lot, is that Pennywise is a spider. Like let's not forget this. It's a spider that can shapeshift. It's not human form.
Yeah.
It can transform into human form. That is a big thing that gets lost with Pennywise a lot.
Yeah. For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It hasn't been done great on screen either time.
No.
So let's go and I know there's still some stuff in the chat, but let's move on. I know we got some other stuff to cover as well.
Yeah.
The next one's a fun one. You can watch Stephen King's Christine in a Bangor cemetery.
That'd be fun.
So Ethan Andrews from Bangor Daily News on July 18, 2025 said the Bangor Historical Society is hosting a screening of Christine in the Mount Hope Cemetery on August 20th at 8 p.m. The film is set in California and doesn't actually feature any cemeteries, but King is rumored to have taken names for two of the characters in the novel from headstones in this cemetery.
Oh.
Because there's always those stories that King would be like doing walks and he'd walk by the cemetery and he'd see a name on a headstone and go, oh, that's a really good name. And then that ends up in
that down.
Yeah. Scenes from Pet Sematary were shot in the cemetery, plus cemeteries are spooky. That's what he says here. Tickets will be sold, and actually were sold at this point on July 24th. So I don't know if it's sold out or whatever. But if you're in the main area, maybe hit up the Bangor Historical Society and see if tickets are still on sale. But that's kind of an interesting
it's fun.
Interesting thing.
Also, interesting choice for Christine.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the names and everything like that, but
yeah,
I would have gone with Salem's Lot personally.
I mean, you could do some It thing too. I mean, it's let's see. Did I not do a freaking slide for this one?
Oh, Dad.
No, I did. Where is it at? Oh, there we go. I just went too far. There we go. I was like, I know I did, because I just thought about the screen grab I got for it. So this one is Weapons director name dropped an amazing Stephen King deep cut discussing the author's influence on the new horror movie. So Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend on July 24th, 2025. So Eric starts by recapping that the year so far, The Monkey, Life of Chuck and the Institute, and coming soon, The Long Walk, The Running Man, and Welcome to Derry. It's a great year for King, essentially, he says. He says, but add one more to your list, even if it's not really officially King, but he says it's very King-coded. And that is Zach Kreger's Weapons, which is coming out next week. Very excited for it. Eric is interviewing Kreger here. The film is set in a small town, has a supernatural mystery going on.
Okay.
Includes imperiled children.
Okay.
Teachers.
Check.
And alcoholism.
Check.
Any of those things feel familiar?
Check, check, check.
So Eric notes that King was the first thing he asked Kreger about when he interviewed him, because like it just seems so Kingian, kind of like Midnight Mass is like the ultimate example of that to me.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, yeah. Kreger said he did not intend the film to be a love letter to King, but he could not deny his influence is there and is more direct at various points. All of the kids in this specific class wake up at 2:17 in the morning and mysteriously flee from their houses. I don't know if you've seen the trailer.
I have.
But Okay, so quote, subconsciously 217 has had to have come from that talking about The Shining. It had to have. And look, I'm a Stanley Kubrick guy when it comes to The Shining. I definitely like to I definitely like worship that movie. I thought of changing it to 237, but then I was like, you know what? My first impulse is got to stick with what I first thought of, so I kept it at 217. So I love that as a constant reader. Like, you know, I love the 217 because 237 is far too overused, I guess. Like it's like, because I feel like sometimes King, it gets lost and it's like, oh man, 217 is pretty cool. So Eric recaps the novel in the room is Shining is 217, but when Kubrick was making the film, Tad Michael, the general manager of the Timberland Lodge that was used for the exterior of the hotel, requested it they changed the number, so it was changed to a number that the hotel did not have. He said 237, 47, 57, just change it from 217 because I've got a room that number and it'll turn people off from. Bad choice by Tad Michael there, because there is no fucking chance that would have happened. In fact, I bet you that room would have reservations out a year plus if it was 217. But I also find it interesting that
charge the Stephen King rate for that room.
Yeah, like the actual hotel does.
Yeah.
But I also the fact that the manager of the Timberland Lodge at the time was named Tad. That's fun.
I don't like that. I don't know why, but that just is like that's a coincidence that I'm not happy with.
Kreger also name dropped Needful Things, and not the novel or the film, but quote, you know, the Needful Things trailer that promised something that my imagination just went nuts with when I saw it as a kid, and I had a very different experience when I watched the movie. But that trailer, I was just really into a small town just imploding over one central mystery, and so I think that might have been also very present in my mind as I wrote this. So not only referencing some Shining and the fact that he has loved King or whatever, but also a trailer for Needful Things is potentially a very big influence on this. So also Weapons comes out August 8th and is being called a masterpiece. I've been seeing it called a masterpiece online. I've been seeing it called one of the best horror movies in a long time. Also currently it holds a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
So very, very hyped for it. So kind of cool to see that it has potentially some Stephen King connections too. Yeah. Anything I missed in the
David
the chat?
says all it needs is a blue chambray work shirt and at least one character named George or some engineer boots.
Yeah, and someone chewing aspirin.
Yeah. What does Roland call it?
Aston. Yeah. Let's see.
That's about it. Yeah.
Oh, from Desperation and Regulators was the reference
that's
earlier.
Tack, yeah.
And El Cuco mentioned as well. So,
but you have to say it with a flamboyant Spanish accent. El Cuco.
Maracas. All right. So we got. Let's go on over to odds and ends. And then the first one up here is Life of Chuck is now officially released on digital video on demand.
Nice.
So if you want to go purchase it on any service of your choice, it is now purchasable. No word yet on a home release or streaming, but there is part of me that I love this movie so much I might double dip and I might buy it digitally and watch it this weekend, and then buy it when it comes out on disc because I love this movie so much.
It has not come out on disc yet.
No, not that I've seen. I've been kind of watching for it. Next up on King was asked on Threads what his favorite disaster movie was, and he reposted the question.
Target shows it's available. Target, Walmart shows available for the Life of Chuck 4K UHD. It says it's in stock online.
Interesting. I didn't think it was out yet. So King responded and said Maximum Overdrive is his favorite disaster movie.
Nice.
So it made me laugh.
Oh, release date September 30th. I apologize.
Yeah,
I actually went to Target.
I was about to say I'm pretty sure that's wrong. There's no way it's available.
September 30th. So the end of September.
Yeah, I was about to say there's no way that it's available. I wouldn't know for sure, but I was like, I'm in too many like movie collector groups too, like on like Reddit, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, to where like there's almost nothing that gets released like physical media that I don't hear about some way. But this makes me laugh because like obviously there's a lot of people that shit on Maximum Overdrive.
I mean, but it is a disaster movie.
It is a disaster movie.
It's an apocalypse movie, basically.
And the other thing I have to laugh at is I always tend to forget is King directed it, so he's gonna have a soft spot for it. So next up we've got The Monkey is coming to streaming. It's coming to Hulu on August 7th, so this week, a couple days from 5 days from today. So
next Friday.
That'll be fun.
This Friday. Yeah.
Next up for odds and ends, we've got some Firestarter talk. So King apparently is not a fan of the original Firestarter film. So this actually comes from a 1986 interview with American Film, and he said of the film, Firestarter is one of the worst of the bunch, and I think he was kind of being asked about his adaptations.
I'd be okay with a third Firestarter adaptation that's actually good.
He says, yes, Firestarter is one of the worst of the bunch, and again, this is 1986, so there's a lot of movies that hadn't been made yet. Even though, in terms of the story, it's very close to the original, but it's flavorless. It's like cafeteria mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
What a way to put it there.
I
'cause,
mean,
yeah.
he has a way with words. Let's be
He
honest.
does. Next up, we've got some new shirts from Quartet 19, which I'm rocking one of their shirts right now, the Abbey Road Quartet. They got a couple new shirts out, and I wanted to share them. So
Boy Chambers.
the first one is Oi Chambers in the style of Ozzy Osbourne, and then Crazy Blaine, so the Crazy Train. So that is very clever, very cool design. So go on over to Quartet 19. I'll have the link in the show notes if you want to go and purchase it. And the next one is very much one that I like. Got it on the screen now? Well, once you guys catch up.
Oh, God, no.
Rhea of the Coos is got there, and then we got Ermot.
Disgusting.
And Musty. And Musty has a
Little note.
is it Honest No More, I think is what it says. I think I was looking at it close when I had the picture up. So I may or may not have already put my order in for my Rhea of the Coos shirt.
God. Gross.
I mean, when I got an email from him, because I've bought some shirts, obviously, from him, and it's like, oh, Rhea the Coos shirt. I'm like, all right, whatever. When I pulled it up, though, and the second I saw that, not only did it have Musty, but it had Ermot, I was like, sold.
Oh, that's gross.
Sold. We have no Uncle Stevie recommends, wildly. He has not had any recommendations since the last time we talked. Next up, I'm going to skip emails.
It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
You know that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
So I'm skipping Palaver, and we can circle back to that, because we have an email from Eric. He emailed in, says, Tad and Peter, Heil Gunslingers.
Why does it say Kirsty?
Oh, because I forgot that it has a name on there.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, because, that's my bad.
That's all right.
Is there, I wonder if I got...
You got an edit button?
I wonder if I can make it... Is it the title, though? Let's see. Where...
It's all good, Tad.
Yeah, mailbag. Maybe it's right here? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, my bad. I forgot I have the names on there. So it's from Eric. He says, Hi, all Gunslingers. He says, hey, I just wanted to drop a note saying how great your pod is. I love how you're taking your time to go in depth on all the books. You guys work so well together and are fun to listen to. Plus, I wanted to hear the email jingles. So mission accomplished. Also, I will say, like, I think our, chemistry comes from almost 25 years of friendship now. So he says, please keep up the great work. I'll be with you till we get to the tower, which...
Next year's 25 years.
Yeah, and getting to the tower might take 25 more years.
Might,
but
yeah.
And he signs off by saying, long days and pleasant nights, signed Eric. So,
Thanks, Eric.
yeah, thanks indeed. So then we can go back to Palaver. Peter's got a couple things.
No, you got to stay in the mailbag. My wife sent me an email.
Oh, so
It's officially an email, so...
Emails.
Oh, we're getting a
It's
twofer.
the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
Except this time I'm reading.
you know that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
We don't get the email jingle very often, so if we got
Let's play
two,
it.
we got two
Yeah.
emails, we can play it twice.
Officially, my wife did send this an email, so that's why we're doing it. She finished it.
And just for context, she is not too fond of clowns.
No. She covers that.
Okay.
We cover this.
Just wanted to give it context that this isn't just like it's kind of cool. My wife's,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, this is a big deal to get her to read
It's
this.
also her third Stephen King novel that she's read, and I do believe that she actually is listening. There she is in the chat. So she says, "Heil," like a good little gunslinger. Says, first and foremost, I thought it was a really good book, which I am really mad about for two reasons. One, I didn't like that a book involving clowns was good. So, very first thing she says, like
And
you were saying.
again, the root of most clown fear, I believe, even if people weren't exposed to it, I really think that's the osmosis that, like,
I mean, it comes on the tail end of John Wayne Gacy.
yeah.
Is Pennywise comes out in 1986, so it's just like boom boom for pop culture, like the zeitgeist of having clowns. So
Yeah.
and then two, she says, I'm mad that I've missed out on it for so long. I never would have read it in high school, but I know Peter has been telling me to read it almost the whole time that we've been together, which is married for 13 years, been together for 14. I'm very happy with the clown portions were few and far between,
Which I think we helped.
which was my selling point to get her to read it.
Yeah, and I think I was telling you, I'm like, you just need to tell her that the clown is in the movies.
Yep.
There's a little bit more clown because I think both adaptations have kind of like understood that you probably need like a foundational like look. But in the book, dude, he's like constantly. I mean, I think the first few times I've read it, I always forget, and even now I think I forget it at times where I'm like, I kind of think the clown is like the default.
Yeah.
But then I read it and it's like, oh my god, dude!
It's like werewolf is like the first thing that they really like encounter together as a group. So.
Yeah, you got the leper. I mean, he's just constantly showing up as different things. Like King, the clown is there, and it's probably one of the ones that's the most common across multiple people, which probably tells you that would be kind of the base thing, but it's nowhere near as base as it is in the adaptations where Tim Curry, Bill Skarsgård, iconically that you're thinking of them exactly where So for
obviously.
sure.
She goes on and says, I really did like that Pennywise had so many different skins, in air quotes. I like that it wasn't just the clown the whole time, but I liked that with each one, there was a little bit of the clown in it.
Yeah.
In them. The mummy turns into the clown. The werewolf has the pom-poms.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
The one that was created by the first series is the Ben's dad.
Yes.
Out on the water in like the military uniform.
Right.
He like talks to him. He's like floating on the water, and then like it cuts away and cuts back, and he's got
Like
the pom
transition,
poms
yeah.
on the military uniform.
Exactly.
It's iconic. I always forget it's not in the book. Every time I read it, I'm waiting for that scene, and it doesn't happen. I'm like,
Yep.
oh yeah, they created that for that
Yep.
first adaptation.
She says the one part that took me out of the story was the part where they went into the void. The turtle seemed out of place and was weird to me.
Yeah.
The scene with Beverly when she was younger with all the losers was difficult to listen to, but I'm not going to disregard the whole book because of one scene. A lot of people share that opinion, including myself. Stan's suicide shocked me. I was not expecting it. Then every time he came up in the past, I was always listening to it with a little bit of sadness knowing his future.
Yeah.
And I think King does that on purpose, and he does it so well, too, because there's so much that, like, Stan's influenced by, and he's affected more so than some of the others. It's kind of like, oh, maybe that was part of it. Oh, that was probably part of it, kind of thing.
If I'm going to give anyone a break, he deserves the out on that.
Yeah.
Because he had some pretty terrible things happen to him.
Right.
So, yeah.
She says, I didn't know the end was going to be Pennywise as a spider, and that was creepy as hell. I am not a fan of spiders. I also, the squishing the eggs was very gross. I purposely kept that from her. I did not in any way whatsoever hint that Pennywise had a final form other than the clown. Because like you said, like pop culture has kind of made it to where it is the clown.
That's the
but
clown, yeah.
I purposely kept that from her because I knew that she would not read it if I told her that it was a giant spider.
Yeah.
A couple more things. She says one scene that I was not expecting to affect me so much was when adult Mike goes into the library and there are balloons with his face on it. The scene literally gave me goosebumps. Stan's head in the fridge really freaked me out too. I'm pretty sure I stopped whatever I was doing and just stood there with my mouth agape.
Yeah.
That scene is intense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm a couple years removed from an It read. I know we're going to be doing it next year. So, yeah, I probably won't get to it before then anyway.
Yep.
So.
And then her last thing here is I loved all the losers. Bill was my absolute favorite. Just something about his leadership while still overcoming his stutter was very heartwarming. I felt a kinship to younger him, like I wanted to protect him, very like motherly feeling.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to overcome his stutter and become a famous author was very cool.
Yeah.
So that's what she said. She signs off, says long days and pleasant nights.
Awesome. Too bad he didn't go and make sure his brother was safe.
Oh, Tad. Damn. And she's here to hear that, too.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, definitely good to hear. Because like I said, maybe it hasn't been completely conveyed on the show, but the bringing her around be it the movies or the books, like whatever it was, that's been a thing you and I have been kind of crafting for quite a long time.
I give full credit where credit is due, my master, that you were the one who planted the seed by paying her to watch the
trailer,
teaser, the first little teaser that went nuts on the internet that we've talked about a couple times now. You paid her to watch it.
That's true.
As long as I recorded it and sent it to you, which I did.
That's true.
We have that footage.
Yeah, indeed. So, Carol says, great email, Peter's wife. I'm too afraid of spiders, but nothing to do with it. I'm also afraid of clowns, 100% it related.
See?
Yeah.
It traumatized a generation.
Yeah, it truly did. Indeed. So, yeah, that's great. I love that. Let's see. We got a few more minutes.
Got about 10 minutes, yeah.
All right, let me go back to the Palaver slide. You had something else?
I did. So, randomly, my wife went to a secondhand...
Peter's got show and tell.
I have show and tell. My wife was randomly... she's like, hey, I'm going to the secondhand store to do some donations. We had been cleaning out our apartment. She's like, we're going to look for some stuff. And I was like, hey, just in the off chance, look in the book section, see what you see, and text me if there's anything Stephen King related. And she found something. I'm going to just hold it up for the camera for those at home. That is a first edition fire starter.
Back it up a bit for
Back it
the
up a
for the
little
camera, but it may not.
Is it washed out?
Yeah, it's the ring lights
There you go.
make it kind of
Oh,
hard.
right there.
So yeah,
That is that's a first edition fire starter. It doesn't have the slip cover, but I don't remember who it was in the Patreon Discord.
Yeah.
Gave me a
I
website.
think it was Chris from Australia. King's
Yeah.
website has a thing where it's like help me identify if I have a first edition.
Yeah,
type thing,
and
so.
it says the requirements are measurements, and then you look at the copyright page where majority of first editions say a limited first edition of this book has been published by Fantasia Press, and unlike other first editions, it doesn't have a sequence of numbers, like almost like a serial number kind of thing.
Yeah,
This one does not have that, which to me, it measures and everything like that, is a first edition fire starter that she found at a secondhand
which
store.
how
for $4.
fitting too that it's fire starters.
I fucking love fire
now,
starters.
I would have
so-
loved if it were Tommy knockers,
Oh God.
but the fact that it's fire starter. I mean, the only thing that would have been more fitting is it probably.
Oh, yeah.
for you.
If I ever found a first edition of it, I'd probably pass out.
Yeah,
But this is so cool. This is definitely one of my favorite Stephen King books too. So
yeah, for sure.
I wanted to I haven't let you look at it yet. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
it was so awesome when she texted me. I was at work when she went, and she's just like, "Is this something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I get that." And
it's in really good condition too.
It is. Yeah, that's what my wife said. It is in pretty good condition too, and just doesn't have the slipcover is the only thing. But yeah, it is.
In memory of Shirley Jackson, who never needed to raise her voice. The Haunting of Hill House, The Lottery. We have always lived in the castle and the sundial. Haunting of Hill House, of course, Mike Flanagan, great adaptation. But The Lottery, that was one of my favorites as a kid. I read that in grade school somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just, that blew my mind. I only recently realized retroactively that it was Shirley Jackson that wrote that.
Yeah.
It's a cool one. Have you ever read it?
I haven't.
It's like a lottery, and it's like whatever. But as it progresses, you realize like the family that you're following wins the lottery, but that's like sacrificial.
It's
like their
it's
mom
bad.
wins
I
it.
have heard of this.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's killer thing. But that's really cool for sure.
I had to show that off because seriously, I was just like, yeah, just take a look, see if there's any Stephen King, and then
I don't think
she literally went the next day and found that. It just makes me wonder: do I need to be worried about the True Knot? Do I got a little bit of shine?
Probably.
Am I in danger?
Just give Rose the Hat my number.
When she takes me,
Yes.
I disappear on the way home, and you're just like, you get a call. Hello, this is Rose the Hat.
Yeah, as I'll say, if you end up going missing and I don't get a call from her, I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you. And then I'm going to propose to Rose the Hat.
All right, your life for Rose the Hat or your life for Randall Flagg?
Marriage made in heaven right there.
Flag and Rose the Hat?
Oh my God.
Oh, boy. The demons that would spawn.
I will be the adopted child.
You'll be served at their wedding dinner.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
I will serve them greatly. I will say I don't think I've ever been. I haven't gone to secondhand shops a ton, but I've gone a little bit here and there. I don't think I've ever gone to one that not found a King thing of some kind.
Yeah.
I've not necessarily found like anything crazy, but like I found some like older copies. Like at one point, I think I found an It that was I don't think it was first edition, but it was one of the more famous ones. I want to say it's maybe the one that the Donnie Darko's mom is reading in Donnie Darko.
yeah.
So it's an iconic one. I don't know if I still have it in a box somewhere, but like
It's got
it's
the paper boat on it, right? On the cover.
I think so. But yeah, I don't think it was a first edition by any means, but yeah, it is one of those fun things. I mean, again, it's one of those things when you go to a bookstore and there's an entire 4-foot section that's nothing but Stephen King. No other author has that much coverage, and he's just so ubiquitous that I think that when you get to like secondhand shops, thrift stores, that kind of thing, like you're gonna find his stuff because like his stuff is like it's like a Big Mac. They're everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's just funny.
So-
I was talking to my coworkers about this book, with the Firestarter, and it's just like, to think that probably what happened is someone was a Stephen King fan, an older person, passed away, or maybe not older, but they passed away. Someone didn't know what they had and just donated it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it really makes
Didn't you find some of your like earlier Dark Tower?
My Gunslinger, that's second or third edition, I think is what we figured out, that has,
but you have
doesn't have the differences.
Yeah, it's pre 2003,
yeah,
100%. But I thought you had some like the ones that were a little bit larger setup for the others, where they had like the color pictures.
I have the Gunslinger, the Drawing of the Three, and the Wastelands. After that, it was regular Wizarding Glass. I have 1 through 5.
Okay.
Of those, and then Song of Susanna and the Dark Tower. I never found those versions. I don't know if they exist.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's certainly a possibility.
But I did. I don't know if I think I did say this. I did get the full set like you have.
Yeah.
Off Amazon last year for my birthday or Christmas, one of the two.
I do.
Or maybe it was Father's Day.
I do enjoy the nice big omnibus collection.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. It's good stuff.
Awesome. This really makes me want to go to more thrift stores and see if I can find me.
Careful, sir.
Something.
That's a dangerous habit to fall into.
I mean,
do you have how big of a bookshelf do you have? All I'm saying,
I don't have a bookshelf. Unfortunately, all my bookshelves have been cannibalized for Lego stands. My wife has a very expensive habit.
Yeah. So I wonder if is there a Pennywise Lego?
No, there's no Stephen King Lego. Now we could make one and submit it. That's one of the great things about Legos. They take fan things and they're called idea sets. Yeah. And then you vote on them, and you can get them.
Is there a red balloon, I wonder?
I mean, you could make a red balloon very easily in Lego. So,
oh, good stuff. Well, yeah, that wraps it for the episode. So let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff.
My wife has a message for you.
For which part? The it or the balloon?
Yes. She says no.
Okay. Pennywise the clown.
Nope.
A balloon.
Nope.
And a spider.
Nope.
There we go. There's.
You want to do a.
There's a 1, 2, 3 set.
You want to do an it set.
You got to get some glow in the dark ones for the thorax for the deadlights.
If you're gonna do an it set, what you're gonna do is you're gonna build a curb. There's gonna be a storm grate. There's gonna be eyes inside there, and you're gonna build the paper boat.
Have they ever made a minifig with one arm?
I mean, all minifigs can be one arm if you try hard enough.
So we can get a Georgie.
Yeah. She's not happy with us right now.
I love the spirit of it.
So one last thing.
A little Georgie and a yellow slicker. Yes,
this is obviously going to be months in the making. But Tad had a great idea yesterday of us doing a hangout and watching it chapter 1 and chapter 2.
Not like a podcast.
Not a podcast hangout. This is going to be off air, where my wife will watch the movies for the first time, and then we will watch the miniseries at home, just the two of us. So we will be hearing from Lydia again when she watches
for more Pennywise reactions.
For more Pennywise, and she, like Tad said, I think you said what she was reading. She is currently reading Misery. She has about 2.5 hours. So poor Paul is missing a couple things. So.
Kathy Bates is a terrifying woman. So for
would you rather hug Kathy Bates?
Oh, I'm sure she's a peach in real life.
Yeah,
but
still, would you trust her?
Still doesn't mean I'm not going to be side-eyeing her all around looking for a sledgehammer.
That outtake from The Office still gets you, doesn't it?
Dude, I just saw it again recently on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was like no, what it was an Office like an edit, and it was all the times in The Office that they called people by their real names.
Yeah,
and usually it's Rain for some reason. Everyone they're doing a scene and they say Rain instead of Dwight.
Yeah,
but like there was a couple odd and end ones in there, and then that was at the end, and I'm like, that's not his name.
That's not Paul. What do you mean, Paul?
He is Michael Scott. He is Steve
Carell.
There is no Paul anywhere in those namings. But Paul Sheldon, That's all I'm saying. And this is 25 years removed from that movie, so it's not like it's fresh in her mind. So
Yeah.
don't trust her. All right, but to close out, if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting, stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or any podcasting service of your choice. Find us over here on youtube.com/Dark Tower Palaver. If you want to be part of the live chat to fill us in on book names that we're forgetting or throw in things about, theories or all kinds of fun stuff.
Lego set ideas.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
The Chinese dinner table.
Oh, with the fortune cookies?
Yeah, fortune cookie.
Like
with
a fortune cookie
with the
breaking
eye
open
in
with
it.
the eye in it? Yes.
There's a Lego.
There's a Lego.
There's a Lego. Yes, for sure. And then if you want to join us here at the live streams, doing that over here at youtube.com/Dark Tower Palaver, if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, we'd appreciate that. But you can watch the shows after the fact. You don't have to be live. You could drop comments as well. That's always welcomed. You can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. All the show notes for this episode, everything I covered, I'll have the full articles in the thing, as well as the links to the trailers we talked about, and the links to Content 19 if you want to go get your Rhea the Coos shirt.
Ugh, gross.
That's great. And it's got Ermot. That's the
worst.
If Ermot wasn't on it, it would have probably been a note
If
taker.
it was just
for
musty.
me. Or even it was just Rhea and it maybe like had her HUD or something. Like
with the pink, the door open with the pink
with
glow.
like a pink glow. That would be a cool shirt, but I don't know if it's for me.
Yeah.
But the second I saw Ermot, I was like, Leo memed it, and I was like, yes, it is. It will be mine. It will be mine. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/Dark Tower Palaver. With that, you get access to our Discord server. You can chat with us all the time between shows. You get access to our monthly hangouts. And if you're at the highest level, you can co-host a show with us. And if you want to contact the show and send us some ideas for Lego stuff, send it over a number of ways that Peter can fill in.
You can email us at show@darktowerpalaver.com. You can post it on our threads or Instagram. It's Dark Tower Palaver, all one word. And then you can also message us on Blue Sky. It's at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. We're on Twitter. It's at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then also find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then check us out. Our merchandise is tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver.
Indeed, and like I said, there's 3 episodes this month, so we got 2 more book clubs coming before our next roundtable.
Yep.
Our next roundtable will be back with you in September. I guess I should have also looked, because our whole trip idea, I guess, where would we be recording? We'd be recording on the 30th, so that'd be the 6th and the 20th. So yeah, we would potentially have to move that last episode if the whole trip pans out, working out as we're planning, because I will not be in the United States.
I'll just do the show solo.
Oh, it'd be funny because you've never actually been behind the control boards
Nope.
here.
I've always been over here just like happy to be here. La 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 la.
Suddenly the whole thing would just self-destruct. You'd push the wrong button and it'd just be like the Enterprise blowing
You
up.
probably have a self-destruct hidden somewhere over there, just in case if I ever messed with things.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, so 2 more book clubs before our next roundtable. But yeah, really looking forward to that. We are coming down the last little bit on book 4, although that will last us into next year. We already found out we're a little less than a year now until we finish the book.
Yep.
But we will sign off, of course, as we always do, by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Oi.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining us. Thanks for being part of the conversation. You guys are all awesome. You guys are, you guys make all the shows so much more fun. I love
This is so much fun.
I love the emails back in the day for sure. I always loved having you guys part of the show, but the live chat is great. So I think
where
it's
it's at.
one of the best improvements we've made on the show over the years is getting you guys involved right away. It's awesome. So you guys are awesome. Appreciate you a ton. See you in a few minutes if you're joining us for Geekery Abides. If not, we will see you in a fortnight for some hopefully some more Rhea chapters.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Bye, everyone.